Under the floodlights and 3/4 miles of banked asphalt awaits some of the best short track drivers on iRacing as we get set here on Windshield Deep for the Blue-Emu Short Track Shootout presented by SimSeats. Good afternoon, sim racing fans, and welcome to this production, which I'm already certain is going to be one of the best we've seen. Jacob Seelman, Justin Prince, Sean Butler with you as we get set for 200 laps around the D-shaped oval in the Commonwealth. And we'll jump right to a couple quick thoughts from some of the competitors in a moment. But Justin Prince, we've got our field now. I'd say it's down to a whole lot of good old short track fun here over the next hour and a half or so.
Absolutely. We've seen a ton of fireworks last night from the drivers, both in qualifying and from the heat races to try and punch their tickets into today's action. Some of them also had to race their way in very aggressively in the LCQs just earlier today. In other words, I'm expecting a light show and a half tonight with some of the battles that are going to be taking place across this field.
Sean Butler, some guys that we didn't think would have to race their way in did so. They're going to be starting deep. A lot of good guys towards the front. I'm not sure I know where to look when the green flag drops.
It's going to be a toss-up, really. I mean, we got, like you guys were saying, a whole bunch of talent throughout this whole field, front, middle, and rear of it. So going to be interesting to see who keeps their spots up front. Going to be crazy to see who can make their way up through the potential carnage to the mid-pack and up to the front. But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to bring it to everybody, and I can't wait to get this thing going. This is going to be fun.
We're going to go to our first Blue-Emu instant reaction of the day here on pre-race for the driver starting 6th outside row number 3 on the grid. 4-time eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Ray Alfalla. And Ray, first off, thanks for taking a moment to join us here. From somebody who's done this as well as anybody else, what's the key to this race?
Hey, well, I don't know what the key is. I think this is my first ever super late model race that I can remember anyway, so I'll consider it as my debut. I'm not really sure what to expect.
What for you was the, what made you want to jump in and be a part of this? We see you so often do a lot of the cup car stuff on the service, but this one's an interesting one, I feel like.
Yeah, well, they had me sold at fixed setups. I was a fixed setup event, and I could be home for it. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
How different for you are these super late models compared to what you're more used to, and what we're more used to seeing you on the cup side?
Yeah, they're like a go-kart, so you have to get used to them. Turning always. You tend to underdrive these. I tend to underdrive these quite a lot. They're just ready to turn at any given moment, so you have to really drive in a lot harder than I'm used to.
To get to it here in just a moment, but real quickly before we go, any thank you shout outs that you want to give before we get this race underway?
Yeah, thanks to everybody that put this together, Blue-Emu, SimSeats, Landon, everybody, and thanks to Jake Nichols for painting up the car on short notice. Yeah, join VRS for driver coaching, and hopefully we put this baby in victory lane.
Number 2 VRS super late model Ray Alfalla. Ray, we'll wish you the best of luck, and hope to be talking to you afterwards today.
Thanks, guys.
We'll get set for another Blue-Emu instant reaction and send it trackside. Now Justin Prince standing by with Alex Mccallum.
Alex Mccollum with the quickest drivers throughout the entire weekend, second quickest in qualifying, quickest right now in final practice. How are you feeling about tonight's action?
I'm pretty feeling good. Definitely a long race, so just gonna have to play lap by lap. But feel overall really good about tonight's race. Should be a pretty good race. Just probably gonna try to keep my track position. So try not, but the outside's so tough here. So try to get down as quick as possible.
Was going to say the bottom line has been the dominant line throughout the weekend. Essentially, once you get towards that line, how are you essentially going to have the plan of attack? Are you going to be patient from the get-go, or are you going to be someone who tries to push on forward and then tries to control the pack?
It's hard to say. It all depends on how the guys behind me get a restart. If there's room, I'll definitely slide down. But early on, I'm probably not going to force the issue. But later in the run, I'll probably force it a little bit. But people are going to try to get to the bottom as quick as possible. So hopefully the guys behind me mess up on the restarts a little bit, so I just get a little bit of room to slide in.
Of course, 2020 on the short track side specifically has been a big year with several different major victories and contention for several more. And of course, You mentioned a little bit to me a couple days ago the importance of trying to carry momentum and try and do better in 2021. How are you feeling about this race to try and cap things off and your chances to come away with victory overall then?
I feel really good. I didn't do too many runs. I did about 10 lap runs each. But I feel really confident in my race pace, so hopefully we stay green so I can show my pace. But overall, it should be a really good race.
Good luck tonight. We'll have to see how you do from the outside front row. Good luck.
Thank you.
Alex Mccallum starting second tonight, guys.
These Blue-Emu instant reactions brought to you by Blue-Emu. It works fast and you won't stink. Sean Butler now standing by with, we've already had one Coke Series champion and getting set to introduce another for our third pre-race interview, 2019 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion, Zach Novak.
And the birthday boy, Zach Novak. First off, happy birthday, Zach, and thanks again for joining us. You're rolling off P22 tonight, man, so tell us, you're part of that mid-pack group we were talking about, so what do you think is going to be the key for you to work your way up to the field and get to the front of this thing?
I don't really know. I think the main thing is, the obvious part is just getting to the bottom and kind of settling in and riding. This long race, 200 laps, Coke Series length, so... hopefully we can just settle in and not, have too many issues. But I'm confident. I think my race pace is pretty decent, so hopefully we can have a shot at the end of this thing.
Absolutely. And we got one extra set of tires on these cars for tonight. So you got the tires you're starting on, of course, and one extra set that you're going to use throughout the race. So any idea of what the strategy is going to be to put those tires on, and when do you think is going to be the optimal time to put the new rubber on?
I didn't really think about that, to be honest. I was kind of hoping it was gonna, be a required thing under the comp yellow, but sounds like it's not. So it's, just gonna come down to when cautions fall, and you definitely don't want to take them before that comp yellow. So pretty much then or any time after is definitely the time you want to take them.
Absolutely. So you got your work cut out for you, man, but we know you can get it done. Anyone you want to thank and give a shout out to before we let you get to practicing for this thing?
Yeah, just want to give a big shout out to Landon for putting this thing together, and everybody at Windshield Deep, and Richmond obviously for being a part of this, and they're handing out a cool trophy at the end of this thing. So hopefully we can get our hands on that. But nonetheless, very happy to be a part of it, and obviously Richmond is one of the best teams to be on. So to be able to be in here representing them at their track is special for me. And just thanks to all my partners, Sunoco, SimSeeds, Coca-Cola Energy, Toyota, everybody that helps run Richmond and run our team, and should be a fun one.
Absolutely, man. Well, best of luck to you. Go get him and get that birthday present trophy for you. So best of luck to you. We'll hopefully get to talk to you at the end of this thing, Jacob.
That's Zach Novak, and we'll move to our final Blue-Emu instant reaction of pre-race and bring in the driver who will be repping for the title sponsor of this event coming up. Blake Reynolds joins us now, and a lot of Coke Series flavor in this field. But I imagine, as far as a big short track race like this, Blake, pretty much everything that you have to pay attention to at the top level kind of goes out the window, doesn't it, in these super late models?
Yeah, it's something kind of foreign to me. It's really, the racing is a lot more intense. The bumpers used quite a bit more, and yeah, I mean, just short track racing is something that we don't get to do very often in the Coke Series. Only about 3 or 4 times a season, and to race in a car like this that runs it every week, it's a really cool change.
What kinds of things or game plan wise are you doing a little differently? I know you weren't necessarily expecting a huge qualifying lap, but you got yourself starting P5, and I imagine that at least makes the strategy a little bit easier.
You would think so, but I have no idea what to do, because I know there's a lot of faster guys behind me that are probably going to charge through the field and use their tires. I plan on just sitting in the mid-pack if I made it into the show and just kind of vibing there. I might have to lose a couple spots to kind of settle in, but if I can hold pace with those leaders, sure, I'll do it. But my goal was really just to keep my tires on it and, like I said yesterday, find that right point to put my one set on.
We saw this really get off to a big start during the Thanksgiving Classic last month. You've been a part of a lot of the Windshield Deep big events. How cool is it for you guys to see this come together and be even bigger the second time around?
Yeah, especially since it's only our second one. The Thanksgiving Classic was the first one, and it went off really well. Like, a lot better than all the guys at Windshield Deep thought it was going to be. And then this one, just based on that previous success, it's just, you know, to have Blue-Emu and Sim Seats and all the partners that came on to this event, it's really amazing for number 2.
We appreciate the time, Blake, starting P5. Best of luck here this afternoon, and we'll see what you can do in that 66.
All right, thank you guys. Have fun.
That is our final Blue-Emu instant reaction from Blake Reynolds as we get set. Still a couple minutes left before we get preparation for pre-race ceremonies. Justin Prince, what stands out to you as we get set to close the book on practice?
And as the driver said, track position is going to matter. And I think based on what we heard and what we've seen in these types of events for a track like Richmond Raceway, it's going to be where the tire set usage is going to be critical around the action track, especially around this circuit in the 14 degrees of banking, to be able to stick around the bottom for one, but for two, to be able to try and keep yourself up towards the front. That fall off could be critical for some of the drivers who try and gamble later on, and for some of the others who are going to try and charge up to the field by taking their set later on, possibly. Wouldn't be surprised to see some varying different competing strategies throughout the night that come into play here in Richmond, Virginia.
Sean Butler, for you, as we look down the list, the driver that comes to mind for me, we all thought Trayton Lapsevich was going to be a big player, and he may still be a big player. Had to run his way in through one of the LCQs that happened earlier today, starting very deep in this field. What do you think about his chances?
I think they're pretty good because he had to start pretty deep in his LCQ field today. We're watching all those earlier today, and he came up to the field and worked his way in, pretty unsurprisingly, of course. But he's probably looking to have a better result than he did in the Thanksgiving Classic. Ran into a little bit of trouble early on in that race, so he definitely has his mind focused on getting a good result here today. But it shouldn't surprise us at all to see that 032 at the front here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him up there by maybe halfway through this race, because he is definitely one of the guys to watch coming through.
This time, we're going to get set for pre-race ceremonies for the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by Sim Seats. And as we get set for this afternoon's national anthem, we'd like to welcome Nashville recording artist from Rome, Georgia, Dawson Edwards, with the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag
Thank you, Dawson, for that national anthem. You can follow him on all social media at Dawson Edwards Music, and he's been a big fan of racing, and we appreciate his contribution to this broadcast. Starting lineup for the short track shootout here at Richmond. Parker Retzlaff qualified on the pole last night and joined alongside Alex Mccallum. Donovan Strauss scheduled to start third. He'll drop to the tail and go after $200 bounty that we'll tell you a little bit more about here as we go into the race. Brian LaPrade scheduled to join him on the outside of row number 2. Blake Reynolds is there. We talked to he and Ray Alfalla pre-race. Garrett Maines starts 7th, and looking a little deeper as they start to roll Jimmy Mullis from the outside of row 5, Justin Prince.
Ryan Kuhn in 11th spot tonight alongside Jackson Lewis. Both of them expect to be very quick. We've seen them in their heat races be right towards the point much of the races. Vicente Salas also in that grouping 13th. Justin Lisamy starts 14th. Austin Edwards, Bradley Erickson, the 25th qualifier overall last night, starts 16th for this one, while Ryan Doucette, Blake Neer, Paul Kashiba, along with Justin Noblock round out the top 20.
Dylan Alt, Colin Keister make up row number 11. Colin Bowden, Marcus Fruchtenich, Zach Novak, Robbie Keneally 26th, GT Hawkins 27th, Ethan Johnson 28th, Ryan Matthews in 29th, and rounding out row number 15, Jacob, is Garrett Conrad.
36 cars set for the green flag here. The final couple across your screen now. Cody Harris and Trayton Lapsevich in row 16. These are drivers who transferred out of the LCQs earlier. Michael Finlayson and Matt Busa on row 17. Derek Fulton and Josh Parker, the rest of the field. And once again, as we mentioned right off the top, Donovan Strauss was scheduled to start third, takes the bounty, drops to the tail of the field, going after $200 from Fairway Motors. He's guaranteed $50 just for taking the bounty, and if he can get to the front and win this race, he'll earn an extra $150 for $200 bonus in total. The lights are out atop the iRacing pace cars. They work into turn number 3, and we want to thank everybody tuning in here to Windshield Deep for the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by Sim Seats as we work off turn 4. Parker Retzlaff leads the field to the green flag, and we are underway from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Retzlaff on the jump as they stack up behind him. Down to the bottom comes Mccollum as they hit turn 1.
And that's exactly what Mccallum was looking for off the jump. A mistake in the bottom line from Blake Reynolds and company opens up the line for him to get the second. Brian LaPrade, as a result, stuck on the high line through 3 and 4. Blake Reynolds trying to keep it side by side.
Side by side for third, side by side for fifth. It's it's Brian LaPrade and Blake Reynolds side by side there, and behind them Garrett Maines and Ray Alfalla trying to go at it. Alfalla starting to fall back as now Maines working his way forward in that 57. He's going for fourth in turn 3.
Side by side for fourth on back. The 57 of Garrett Maines gets by Brian LaPrade as he barely clears him. Here comes the 75, the 175 of Cody Kelly in that red, black, and white car. He ducks to the inside. Ray Alfalla right behind them as they're still side by side down the back.
Speed Not Apparel onboard camera for Brian LaPrade as we see him trying to work that outside lane now against the Cody Kelly machine. Of course, Cody Kelly on a bit of a redemption trip here. Justin Prince, he was going for and nearly had the victory in the E-Thanksgiving Classic, and unfortunately got moved out of the way by Alex Mccallum in the last 400 feet or so. I promise you, that 75 today, he wants revenge.
Oh, trouble. Jimmy Mullis getting turned down the back straight away. A big pile up out of 3. Caution flag.
And there's Jimmy Mullis, a couple more cars going around in the back. I think that's the 51 of Strauss right there that we just saw in the camera shot. So taking the bounty may not have been the right choice. You see the 182 with a little bit of front end damage. We'll get a look at the Blue-Emu instant replay right here. But as Justin called, it was Jimmy Mullis who was the first one to go around. You'll see it as he works down the back straight away. And that, I think, Sean, was just a little bit of that was trying to slot in line and just, I think, misjudged the clearance.
It's looking like it. I was looking back on the replay here. It looks like the 34 of Andrew Peichnik right there in that yellow, red, and black car thought he might have been clear and had a shot to go to the bottom of Jimmy Mullis and just ended up inadvertently turning him down the back straightaway. So that, a lot of drivers upset on the radio, including Jimmy himself. And here, let's see what happened to Donovan Strauss off the corner here. He's just going down the backstretch, sees the wreck happening, and just kind of gets hit a little bit from behind. That's the 95 there of Cody Harris. And unfortunate for Donnie. Looks like he makes it through clear, but just a shame for Jimmy and company as they're going to have their work cut out for them to get back through the field again.
Little bit of front end damage for Donovan. He did tag the inside wall a little bit. Doesn't look like a super hard hit, Justin, but of course we know on this sim sometimes it's a little bit hard to say. That damage can often be a little bit worse than it appears at first glance.
Yeah, and here's one of the things to think about. Drivers like Ryan Matthews had a ton of damage in his heat races last night. He only gained 5 spots after he got right side damage in his heat race. Had to qualify his way through the LCQ. There's not going to be a lot of time under the caution flags here to try and get the car repaired. In other words, for Donovan Strauss, this is one of the risks you take with taking the bounty, and he's now seeing those risks right now where he's going to have to suffer the damage, as well as really several others who had no time to react to what happened.
Big thing to note here, Sean, and we heard a couple of our Blue-Emu instant reaction drivers talk about this during the pre-race show, that we do have or are expecting a competition caution around lap 100, and you know we've got a set of tires to work with. A lot of the guys don't want to take the tires until midway, so there's going to be a lot of strategy the deeper we get into this deal.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Windshield Deep Racing League that runs every Monday night. So it's very similar to this. In the 87 cars, they just have one set of tires to work with. And it really, most of the time, all comes down to when you put those tires on. So we'll see a bunch of guys. Blake Reynolds does this a lot in those races. He'll kind of slide to the back to save his tires the best he can, and then try to put the tires on as late as possible and have the best grip. But it'll probably all come down to that. So we'll see who can play the strategy right and put themselves in position to take this thing home.
How advantageous was starting deep in the field and being able to get the binders on and avoid this early crash? 2 drivers, Trayton Lapsevich, we talked about pre-race, Josh Parker, started 32nd and 36th respectively. They will restart 17th and 19th as 2 of the biggest movers early in this race. Pace cars off, field back in the hands of Parker Retzlaff, who waits very late in the restart zone. He'll stack the field up as we come back to green, completing 8 laps, starting lap number 9. Side by side, battles on for second. Garrett Maines to the inside and clear of Alex Mccallum.
Alex Mccollum diamonds his way down for 3rd spot to close off that bottom line. Cody Kelly already to 4th spot. This time, though, it's Blake Reynolds who's stuck on the top line. Sliding behind as Ryan Doucette gets hit from behind. He drifts out of turns 3 and 4 and saves it.
That was a very interesting, a bit of a dicey speed not apparel onboard shot from Blake Reynolds roof a moment ago. There's Ryan Doucette in the 77, 10th place right now. He's worked his way forward from 17th, but it is a hornet's nest behind him. You've got side by side Brad Erickson, Paul Kashiba, Austin Edwards, Dylan Alt. They're all battling off the corner.
Off the corner down the front straightaway, Blake Reynolds is finally able to slide his way into line there, but look at this, just behind them you got Austin Edwards, the aforementioned Austin Edwards in the 18, the 47 of Paul Kashiba still side by side. That's the battle for 12th as they head down the back straightaway, and they got Dylan Alt just behind them in the 42.
Give a call to the young Canadian Trayton Lapsevich, the Grimsby, Ontario native, halfway through the field in 11 laps. 32nd, he's now cracked the top 15. Justin Prince, you want to talk about a motivated teenager. The 32 is absolutely on a rampage in the early laps of this race.
And he's been able to find a lot of the holes as well. Helps when you have a spotter like Jake Watson up on the stand for him to be able to try and take advantage of the opportunities. And it also helps that several cars are looking to scrap. Paul Kashiba's stuck on the high side. Dylan Alt currently right now running in front of him on the bottom side. And the speed not apparel onboard cam you've seen just a little bit more quicker on corner exit compared to some of the cars he's around at the moment.
Battle for second, making a battle for third. Alex Mccollum has already gotten back past Garrett Maines. Cody Kelly is trying to follow suit in the 75. They race wheel to wheel through turns 1 and 2, looking off the back of the Alex Mccollum machine. Move Cody Kelly to 3rd. Garrett Maines slots in line in 4th. He wants a stab back in turn 3.
Thinks better of it in that 57. Again, we got to see who's going to save these tires the best. So Cody Kelly, one of the guys that we see in Windshield Deep Racing League, likes to get towards the front and stay there early. And he's looking to do exactly that as he moves up into 3rd after starting in 9th. So good trek through the top 10 for him. Pretty much single file all the way through. You got to go back to the 47 of Paul Kashiba as he's still side by side with the 32 of Trayton Lapsevich. That's a battle for 14th as they're still side by side through 3 and 4.
And in that shot, the driver that we're on the Speed Nut Apparel onboard camera with right now, somebody I wanted to talk about, Justin Prince, because Josh Parker, who has experience at both top levels of esports competition in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, he has worked his way plus 20. He's the biggest mover so far in this race. 36, shotgun on the field, rides 16th with a side-by-side battle up just ahead of him between Kashiba and Lapsevich. But Parker in that Interstate Batteries machine, very, very solid run early.
Absolutely for Parker, and he had to hold on to a bump and run in 3 and 4 in the last lap of LCQ on top of things to be able to get the last spot into the show for today. He's been someone who's raced a ton on iRacing lately and is someone who can be confident 3 wide into turn 1, trying to take the position. Training Lapsevich backs off.
Lapsevich thought better of it, finds a hole in front of Robbie Keneally on the inside of the racetrack. Contact, they bang doors down the back straightaway to Parker and Kashiba in that battle for position. Josh Parker, the inside lane, trying to prevail. He's going to edge out 14th at the start-finish line, just ahead of Parker, another driver who's nicely moved his way forward. The 42, who was impressive in qualifying and the heats, Dylan Ault.
Dylan Ault started 21st up to 12th as it stands on the charts right now. One of those guys also known to keep good care of his tires and is very fast. He can sneak up on you very well as he heads into corner number 1 just behind Austin Edwards. And Paul Kashiba finally just behind these guys. There's just a little bit of trouble into turn 1. Colin Keister in the 17, Robbie Keneally make a little bit of contact. They're able to keep it going, and they're still 3 wide behind them as everyone's got to check up.
2 wide, 3 wide, back into the corner around the 17 of Keister. It is getting very crazy, and they quickly settle it out, the Oakley machine of Keister. But you see the damage on that right side door. Justin Prince, he has been into the side of somebody, and this battle may not be over yet as they work down the back straightaway.
Some of the damage, mind you, is from that early incident with Jimmy Mullis and company, but rest of it is from some of the bump and banging. Keep in mind that big check effect was from a bump and run from behind on Parker's car that checked everyone up. Remember, he was the car who set up the inside 3 wide a couple laps prior. That's made a big buffer for 14th through 17th, all the way back to where Keister and company are back by about a full second as a result here at this racetrack early.
Quick update on the Fairway Motors bounty. Unfortunately, the damage to Donovan Strauss's car from that early incident too severe for him to continue. He has taken the JDR Graphics number 51 to the garage area. So no bounty, unfortunately, for the young gun out of Georgia today. As we continue to watch a couple of battles and closing in, Vicente Salas may be having a go at Ray Alfala here in a minute, Sean Butler. That'll be the battle for 6th if Salas can catch him.
Salas has been a little bit quicker, running the bottom very well. Justin was talking about it yesterday at length in qualifying. It is so important that you keep those left side tires as close to that yellow line as you can to keep the grip on the vehicle, and also make sure you carry that speed to the corner. And Salas crosses the line at 22, 181 for him, a 138 for Ray Alfala. So very close speeds right now, but we're going to see if this run keeps going. Who keeps those tires underneath those cars the best?
That we are, and we're about to cross the lap 25 benchmark, Justin Prince, and I would say at least among the top 6 or so, it's been pretty procedural. But you look at some of the guys who have worked their way forward. Salas is one who's come 13th to 7th early. Brad Erickson's another one who's worked his way into the top 10 from the teens, and even Dylan Ault, who's gained 10 spots early. It has not been procedural in the mid-pack by any stretch.
Not even close, and that's in part, as we mentioned, with some of the checkup effects, but also just a lot of the rhythm and talent for some of these competitors where they want to get track position and want to get it now. And one of the main points when it comes to short track racing too is consistency, Jacob. If you are consistent and can hit the same times lap after lap after lap, you can make your way through the field. Alex Mccallum, one of those examples. He's been near dead on each time by. He's been quicker than Parker Retzlaff by about a couple 100s over the past 10 laps.
That he has been. The battle for the lead has closed up. 3 cars nose to tail like they've got trailer hitches between them. Down the back straightaway and into turn 3. Retzlaff trying to hold the lead. Mccallum wants it, and Kelly stuck in them both.
These three guys were at the front pretty much the entirety of the E-Thanksgiving Classic last month and is no different in tonight's race. You got Retzlaff in that 42 up there. You got also Alex Mccallum in the 1 and Cody Kelly in that 75. You're on board now in the Speed Nut Apparel onboard cam of Cody Kelly. Led every lap except the final one, where he got a little bit of move and a little bit of help from Alex Mccollum to take home that win. So you got to think, as Jacob was mentioning early, this is a redemption race for Cody Kelly. He's right where he needs to be.
As we cross lap 30 of the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats, we want to remind you that tonight's broadcast on Windshield Deep is brought to you in part by SimSeats. Since 2009, SimSeats has been designing and fabricating high-quality driving simulators, including motion systems, custom fabricated parts, and complete turnkey iRacing packages, all made here in the United States. Their customer base includes all kinds of drivers, from amateurs to professionals, and their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Don't limit your track time to the weekend. Visit sim-seats.com for more information. And we thank SimSeats for their presenting sponsorship of this event. 32 laps going up on the board. Here's a quick look at the top 10. Parker Retzlaff holding a narrow lead over Alex Mccallum. Cody Kelly rides in the 3rd spot. Garrett Maines has drifted a little bit back to 4th and holding off Briar LaPrade and Ray Alfala, who ride 5th and 6th respectively. Vicente Salas sits 7th. Ryan Kuhn is 8th, Ryan Doucette 9th, and Brad Erickson completes the top 10 as we now work lap 33 here from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Top 3 working down the back straightaway. Justin Prince, they have not let any one of each other get too far away, and I think Parker Retzlaff is about to have a very hungry Alex Mccollum a little bit. The rear tires on that Ponzi number 42 starting to slip just a little bit through corner entry.
And when you slide the tires, especially in the super late model, you lose a lot of speed and potentially heat those tires up to the point where you're leaning on it to the point where you heat it up more, and in turn it becomes the endless cycle. Right now, he's currently sliding up about 1/10 of a car length up the racetrack throughout the corners. This is going to be tricky for him, as Mccallum has taken a couple peaks throughout this fight. Just can't get the run quite yet to actually make the move. Same can be said for Cody Kelly, who's made a couple leaps to the inside for second.
Cody Kelly thought about laying the bumper to the back of Alex Mccallum. He was within Sean Butler maybe an inch of about pushing Mccallum through the corner last time by.
Maybe wants to give Alex a taste of his own medicine from the Thanksgiving Classic, but these three still single file, not missing anything else in the rest of the field as they're getting close together in 1 and 2. And he does put the bumper to Alex Mccallum that time, but all three drivers able to stay straight and keep on going. But this is the closest battle we have on the racetrack, and it's for the lead nonetheless.
I was going to say, you want to talk about where the action is? It is right at the head of the pack. Retzlaff, Mccallum, Kelly, they run that way. Another lap. Retzlaff now eking out about a half car length, almost a full car length over Mccallum as they work down the back straightaway. Shift back a little further, 4th through 7th. It's about this same song and dance. Garrett Maines leading a secondary train. Briar LaPrade in the 19. Ray Alfala the 2. Vicente Salas in the 54. They're still going at it.
And we mentioned the need for consistency. The short run and some of the battles early on hurt them a little bit. They've been around those same marks here and there compared to your top 3 grouping. But the main thing is your top 3 grouping have a near dead on average lap times the past 20 laps to start this off, within 8/1000ths of a second of one another to start off lap 39.
So, Sean, we're looking and basically seeing about 3 different trains among the top 10. You've got the top 3, you've got the next 4, and then you've got about 8th through 11th or so that have kind of hooked up, in these little trains nose to tail. Is this the part of the race where if you're among this top 10, you're kind of settling in, riding, maybe seeing what you got for a little bit?
I'm thinking so, and again, as Justin was saying, tires are so important, especially in these cars at this track. And these guys, knowing they have one extra set, they want to make this set last as long as possible. And they're really going to see if they can keep it going till the end and see how good their tire wear is. So if I'm these guys, I'm just going to ride it out, stay where I'm at. But that's kind of beneficial for Parker Retzlaff after just securing that $20 lap 39 liter bonus courtesy of Max Cookson. So there is some incentives kind of pass, but right now I think most of these guys are aiming towards the checkered flag.
I have to believe that as well, and that's the big thing, is at the end of this race, there's a checkered flag, there's a really cool trophy, courtesy of Richmond Raceway, there's a $1,000 winner's paycheck on the line, but Justin Prince, a little bit beyond that, as well as we see Cody Kelly try to take a peek on Alex Mccallum for the runner-up spot, can't quite do it. Oh, maybe he will. He'll put the bumper to him and try to work side by side, and there's Cody Kelly. I think Mccallum's going to concede that spot for the moment. But JP, as I was just getting ready to mention, in addition to all that, the $1,000, the trophy, the checkered flag, the bragging rights, there's also 4 tickets on the line, courtesy of Blue-Emu, to the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500 at Martinsville Speedway coming up in the spring. So the winning driver going to take home those tickets as well.
Yes, indeed. And Martinsville is always a track where if you go there, you love to see the action because the close quarters racing, similar to what you see at tracks such as Richmond, and the thrill of being at a short track. There's a reason many different competitors entered this race tonight. Some of them in their first short track events in a long time. Ray Alfalla said himself in his first super late model event to his memory. Because so many drivers love these types of events because the feel of them in person when they go there themselves as a spectator. They love to see it as a race driver. He's going backwards, though, should note Alfalla, because Vicente Salas, he's starting to fall as Elliott Sauer Esports compattering up in front of him.
Yeah, Salas makes the pass for the 6th position, and of course, we want to thank Blue-Emu for their primary partnership of this event, Blue-Emu and Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief. It works fast, and you won't stink. For more information on Blue-Emu and their whole line of products, or to order today, visit blue-emu.com. 45 laps complete, so just near 1/4 distance here. The Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats. Parker Retzlaff has led the entire way so far, and this is the most distance we've seen among the top 3 in, well, really the entire way so far. It's about 3 car lengths between Retzlaff and Cody Kelly. It's about another 5 car lengths back to Alex Mccollum in the 3rd spot. Then it's 2 more seconds back to the driver who just took over 4th place now. In the 19, the lead for Billiard Supply entry, Briar LaPrade making a nice march, Sean.
Briar LaPrade did a great job of working over the 57 of Garrett Maines. Garrett really let him go. See a lot of give and take along with these guys, as you saw earlier on in this run. Alex Mccollum just letting Cody Kelly go, and that'll kind of shake everything up. We see these guys get side by side, and they could lose a considerable amount of time to the guys ahead of them. So that's in the back of their mind. Yeah, I want to keep this spot, but I don't want to lose the time that we have. And you're going to see a lot of guys, at least early in this race, go ahead and let some people go so they don't lose that time, so they can hopefully catch back up to their competitors ahead.
Speed Out Apparel onboard camera with the driver currently sitting 9th and maybe challenging for the 8th spot in the 77 of Ryan Doucette. Justin, it's been a really fun last week or so if you're Ryan Doucette. He, in the Pro Series finale, had a brilliant drive to race his way into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series field for 2021. This is a young driver that both you and I have spent a lot of times covering on these broadcasts across the service. And Doucette, I feel like, has really come into his own in that Viper Graphics number 77 over the last couple of months.
Absolutely. He's impressed a lot of drivers. He's always been considered it for many in that grouping, one of the best drivers not in the series prior to this upcoming winter. And don't forget, also races in real life as well in modifieds. So he's got a ton of short track experience as well. And mind you, is a student university on top of things at the University of Southern Maine. So it's been a balancing act, but it's also one where it's all positive momentum, and that's one of the big things. You get positive momentum rolling for yourself and for everything else. Everything keeps on building and building and building towards a good direction, and it's been building a good direction towards his matter, while Cody Kelly, by the way, up towards the front, is building some decent momentum up to Parker Retzlaff.
I have to question, though, if that's maybe a bit of an optical illusion, Sean Butler. We're currently looking at a quick onboard shot from the 31 of Justin Lisenby, but if we circle back to Cody Kelly and the fact that he has closed in on Parker Retzlaff, I begin to wonder maybe if Cody Kelly isn't so much closing on Retzlaff as much as it is Retzlaff's only running as hard as he needs to run right now.
Well, he is where he needs to be, of course. So these 3 guys right here have put themselves in a great position. You're talking about Retzlaff, Cody, and Kelly, and Mccollum. Those 3 guys have completely checked out from the field. They got about 3 seconds off until they get back to Briar-LaPrade. But these guys right now can just hang out for a while, keep their tires on them. But I have been noticing that Cody Kelly is starting to slide the tires just a little bit, especially off of turn 4. And meanwhile, Retzlaff has just been completely clean, not sliding the tires at all. So I think you might be onto something where we're seeing Cody maybe pushing a little too hard, but we'll have to see as this run goes on.
And that's exactly what I was talking about, Justin, where Parker Retzlaff is only running exactly as hard as he needs to and waiting for the guys behind him to maybe burn their stuff up. And I really think you're starting to see that with third place Alex Mccallum, who's fallen almost a full second off these top two.
And I think he partly hit it on the head, too, on top of things where, guess where Cody Kelly is right now? If there's a caution, he's on the outside. That in turn means he has to try and find a hole in the bottom side on a restart. Hence why he's pushing so hard to try and take the lead. For Alex Mccollum, he can try and cruise right now and be a bit more patient, and that's why he's starting to back off, because he's running as hard as he needs to just hold on to third to make sure he keeps that cushion of Briar-LaPrade. So it's a chess match now towards knowing you've got a competition caution halfway in this race. And if you're on the bottom line, you're on the preferred line for the restarts. Hence why some of these cars are pushing harder than some of the others.
I'll give that credit too as we get ready to cross lap 60. Not quite there. It'll be 58 laps complete this time by, as you see Cody Kelly trying to take a couple of jabs at Parker Retzlaff for the race lead. Back to the Speed Nut Apparel onboard camera with Cody Kelly looking off the roof of the 75 as he chases the Ponce Toyota of Parker Retzlaff, who has led all 58 laps that we've completed so far. And if we circle a little further back in the field to about 13th place, the 34 car, a driver who I hadn't even caught until my eye just picked it up on scoring, but the Busch Beer Machine, Matt Busa from row 17, Justin, 34th now. Busa rides 13th and has very, very quietly moved his way forward in this race.
Yeah, and we mentioned a little bit about him and the fact that he started racing super late model events just in this past month, and has felt like it's an ideal short track to him, Richmond is, because it provides the speed, the side-by-side racing, and has a nice flow in each quarter. Keep in mind as well, this is a track where it attracted him in part because it's one of his best tracks in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series in the Cup cars. 8 starts on that side, 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s. So he's got a lot of success in history here. He's also at the same time been very patient and has made it clear he wants to keep things clean as long as he doesn't get the bumper given to him.
And Sean, if we're talking about Matt Busa and giving and getting bumpers, we did see a little bit of that. In fact, it was one of the big storylines out of the preliminary heat races last night. So not only was it good to see Busa race, be able to have the opportunity to race his way back in out of the LCQ, but he's going to race people the way he is raced, and we saw that full well in his heat race last night.
Absolutely, and I've raced with him a bunch of times in official competition on iRacing, and if he'll reciprocate how you race him, so you race him clean, he will race you clean. So as you're talking about, though, he's in a great spot right now. He's had a great drive so far from 34th up to 13th, but right now he's just in a great spot to kind of get that competition caution to get the tires on. But I think this battle for the lead might start heating up here in a little bit, as Cody Kelly and Parker Retzlaff running identical times the last couple times by.
You mean it wasn't already white hot, Sean?
It's getting there. I think it was a little bit more blue now, but it's starting to get to that white area.
Fair enough. 65 laps on the board here in the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by Sim Seats. If you're just joining us on Windshield Deep, Jacob Seelman, Justin Prince, Sean Butler with you as we cross the line and continue to monitor about a car length or so every lap between Parker Retzlaff and Cody Kelly. Alex Mccollum in third, Briar-LaPrade and Garrett Maines the rest of the top 5. And we're actually going to take a brief moment to step aside and do a little business for our sponsor partners. We'll be back with more of the on-track action here for the virtual Richmond Raceway right after this.
And what a race we are seeing here tonight. Top of the Blue-Emu hot lap, because that lap was hot. We got Kyle Busch trying to go around Kevin Harvick. Not going to happen. The doors closed again. Brought to you by Blue-Emu. If you're looking for some pain relief, look out! Because right now, Kevin Harvick is dishing out some pain to Kyle Busch. Here he comes on the inside. Gonna try the low line. Not gonna work. Door closed again. The Blue-Emu Hot Lap. Brought to you by our good friends at Blue-Emu. Look for it at a store near you.
Welcome back to the Blue-Emu Short Track Shootout presented by Sim Seats from the virtual Richmond Raceway here on Windshield Deep. Jacob Seelman, Justin Prince, Sean Butler with you on the call, and we have been captivated for the last 40 laps or so. Ever since Cody Kelly got to the runner-up position, he has stalked and laid in wait behind the Ponce Toyota of Parker Retzlaff. And Justin Prince, I get the impression that Cody Kelly is tired of waiting around. He wants to get to the lead. He has showed the nose to Parker Retzlaff the last couple of laps, and I think it's going to be game on here in a minute.
Yeah, he's taken a couple different leaps off the corner exits. He's just been clipping the apron. That's the downside off a turn two the past 2 laps, and that's what's really cost him a bit of the momentum before we go for the send. You can also tell that Retzlaff, we mentioned earlier before, is losing a little bit more right rear compared to Kelly, who's been able to save while riding behind Retzlaff, and just as a try to apply the pressure, now to try and get him to burn up his stuff. Keep in mind, lap traffic is going to start getting thick pretty soon. Colin Bowden, the first driver, are going to be up for the thick pack of cars in a little bit.
71 laps going on the board this time, so still about 30 laps to the competition break that we're expecting at or around lap 100. Again, Cody Kelly trying to dig to the inside of Parker Retzlaff, and again, Retzlaff shuts that move down. And as we continue to look a little bit deeper in this field, it's been so calm. I hesitate, Sean, to say it's almost been calmer than I expected it to be. But again, these guys know they have a set of tires to burn at the halfway point of this race. And from then on, I think, is when you're really going to see people start to dig deep.
Yeah, what's that saying all throughout TV? It's quiet, too quiet. So it's going to start getting a little bit louder as the race goes on. But again, this lead is still the same. Parker Retzlaff, by the way, securing another $20 as leading lap 72, courtesy of Michael Gonzalez. So he's up $40 right now in this race. Not too shabby there, but he wants the big bucks at the end. But so does Cody Kelly. And Cody's maybe looking to give a little bit of a bumper off at turn number 4.
It's almost the inverse performance right now. We will watched Cody Kelly be in Parker Retzlaff's position, and now Retzlaff makes a mistake. Cody Kelly to the inside of the racetrack, and Retzlaff concedes the spot. First lead change of this short track shootout on lap 75. Cody Kelly finally applied enough pressure, Justin Prince, that I think Retzlaff said, okay, I've had enough. If you really want to lead, go ahead and lead, and I'll sit right behind you and wait this out a little bit.
Dead on, I think exactly what was going through his head at that point, just saying, you're racing me so hard, I may as well just go and let you go. Just save my stuff and think about the big picture at halfway in this race. Because he's got a massive cushion to Alex Mccallum still and the rest of the field. So he's still in where he wants to be. It's just a matter of keeping up with Cody Kelly and trying to feel things out as this race goes on. Now, the main concern is, though, if you're the cars about to be caught up here, you're hoping you stay on the lead lap of at least, because they're getting caught in pretty quick by at least 4/10 a lap.
And traffic, Sean Butler, we see it everywhere on these big short track races, but I think particularly at a track like Richmond, where there's not a lot of real solid lines, we see it as a case where it is very hard to work through lap traffic at this racetrack.
Absolutely, and as long as they're courteous, you know, that'll make it a lot easier. The 2 lap cars we got coming up, Blake Neer in the 21, Colin Bowden, as Justin alluded to, in the 24 coming up. But these guys have a lot to deal with as they make their way through. But this battle that we see is starting to get a little bit hectic now. Brian LaPrade in the 19, Garrett Means in the 57, and Vicente Salas in the 54. These guys off of turn 2, all battling for 4th.
Brad's got a couple of Elliott Sadler esports hounds behind him, teammates in the form of Maines and Salas, trying to make something happen, and maybe a bump there, Justin Prince.
Yeah, just a little tiny bit, and part of this pressure too is just wanting to try and gain some confidence. Try and find a way to Mccollum, because McCollum's been in cruise control for a good while in the 22.5s, about a 10th or so off some of your race leaders. I think if your mains, you're thinking you might be able to try and provide pressure to Mccollum if you can make the pass. If you can't make the pass, you're still in 5th. That's the bright side. And you also have to think Vicente's going to potentially think, I want to get to the bottom side myself. He might try and make a leap eventually.
It's all still calm for about another 20 laps. We're crossing lap number 80 of 200 here at Richmond Raceway. So far, we've only had one caution flag, which came just 3 laps into this race for a crash in the middle to the back of the field that unfortunately eliminated the driver who took the Fairway Motors $200 bounty in Donovan Strauss. Strauss out of this race, that bounty no longer in play. But all of a sudden, Sean Butler, for the driver who dominated the Thanksgiving Classic, Cody Kelly seems to be trying to take command of the Blue-Emu short track shootout here at Richmond.
Absolutely. As you mentioned earlier, he is up for redemption in this race. Wanted so badly to win the Thanksgiving Classic. Dominated qualifying, of course, down in the pole, dominated the race, but just came up that much short, so he's looking to get back to victory lane. But this battle starting to heat up again as here comes Garrett Maines underneath Briar LaPrade, I should say, with Vicente Salas looking to follow him through for 4th.
The 2 ESE drivers finally were able to get LaPrade off the bottom of the racetrack. Maines is clear. He'll take the 4th spot and leave Vicente Salas and Briar LaPrade to go side by side for P5, and they're going to have to settle that out quickly because Ray Alfala is going to be trying to close up and make it about a 7-car train. Alfala's back there with Ryan Kuhn, Ryan Doucette, and the 42 of Dylan Alt among the top 10 runners.
And this is now where it's getting close to halfway. Drivers are now thinking, it's time to push. I've been saving for so long. It's time to try and get some track position. And for some of these now, it's about, can you get to Mccallum? Can you pass one another? It's going to be where this is going to be critical. We're also seeing strategy come into play where drivers who might be deciding, you know what, I want to try and get the lucky dog or a wave, but potentially are saying, may as well try and come in and top off. Blake Neer did that with a 9-second stop. Trayden Lapsevich just did it with a 3-second stop. So a couple drivers are trying something since, remember, it's about 115 laps at the very most on fuel at Richmond.
And the big thing here, at least last time by, Trayden Lapsevich was still scored on the lead lap. I think he may fall a lap down when everything updates this time at lap 87. And we'll wait on that. Yes, he will. So Trayden Lapsevich right now going to be the first car 1 lap down and would be in position for a free pass should we make it without lapping anybody else before the competition caution, Justin Prince. So that is the...
They're pitting.
Ray Alfala,
Jimmy Mullis, several others electing to try and change.
Leaders are in.
And they're taking the pit stop now.
Wow, so this shakes up all. We were expecting everybody to wait until the competition yellow, Sean, but this shakes up the entire course of this race. The 2 leaders now coming into the pit stop, and it's a long way down all the way to pit stall number 1 for the 42 for our pole sitter Parker Retzlaff.
Well, as Justin mentioned too, about 1:15 is going to be the fuel window, and some of these guys might be thinking big picture, so these guys could probably make it on fuel now, while the guys that are just trying to get to halfway are going to have to make that pit stop. So this could be a very beneficial move for these guys coming in early and getting the pit stop over with now. So we're going to have to see, as here comes Briar LaPrade is also coming in, Ryan Kuhn behind him, Dylan Alt is coming in as well. So these guys are thinking the same thing, get the fuel now and save the rest for later.
And Justin Prince, a huge miscue right now, just over the radio, heard for Trayden Lapsevich. He did not get enough fuel on the stop. That is disastrous.
We have a car spun out of the pit stop entry. GT Hawkins spun out of the entry. No caution flag as Doucette hits him. An absolute craziness as 18 gallons of fuel was put into the race cars to start off this race. The max is 22 gallons. That may be the difference for all this, as Hawkins just got spinned by Doucette as a result of what happened on the entry.
Did we mention short track tempers may be flaring? I think it's about started, Sean Butler, and the radios are absolutely lighting up at this point.
Yes, they are. Ryan Doucette and GT are not quite happy with each other. Kind of a miscommunication on the pit entry there. That'll cost both of them, especially Doucette, a whole lot of time. So they really need to get focused on staying on the lead lap. But here, when you pin under green, it's almost impossible. So this is going to shake up the running order quite a bit. So as we have Dylan Alt just now exiting pit road, you got also, it seems like that is Cody Harris exiting pit road as well. But that's going to hand the lead over to Ryan Matthews going into turn number 1 in that 511 machine. But he's got Garrett Conrath right behind him in second.
I'm wondering if Matthews is trying to play the game of pin as many drivers as you possibly can a lap down to gain some track position that way. He started 29th, and there are only 4 drivers, I think, that have not pitted yet. Ryan Matthews, Garrett Conrath, Justin Knobloch, and Marcus Fruchtenich got 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order. And then you've got Cody Kelly, Andrew Pietrnik, Parker Retzlaff, Brian LaPrade, the rest of the cars that have unlapped themselves for now. Maybe we could get a replay on that pit road incident a moment ago, Justin Prince. You had eyes on it and called it, but particularly for the 77 of Ryan Doucette, complete disaster for his race.
Well, when you have a car blocking the pit entry at full 90 degrees, it's not going to work out well. And that was the exact case with GT Hawkins when he tried to come into the pit entry and essentially just nowhere for Doucette to go by the time he got rolling. Essentially, it was on lap 90 of this race where that all happened, triggered what was chaos for him, and then there was the love tap down the pit lane rather, as a result of all that. And now that's put him in 31st position, 3 laps down. And keep in mind, with this being a fixed setup race, you start with the fixed amount of fuel essentially in the car. That has come big. And for the drivers involved in the caution flag, this may have just helped them from what happened earlier in this race. Let's take a look at what happened with 114.
All right, so as Justin mentioned, this is lap 90. He spins coming into pit lane. We'll wait on it, and wait for Ryan Doucette, who's coming in here, and there's the hit. My, oh my.
Yeah, it looked like he got a little bit of help from the 34 of Andrew Pietrnik. I think that's a result of him not being where he needs to be and what most of these drivers are going to call when they're pitting in, and he was just still on the racetrack. I mean, he picked the latest possible time to turn onto pit road, and that's really nowhere for Andrew Pietrnik to go. So a lot of drivers need that responsibility of getting off of the racetrack and getting on a pit lane safely, and we just saw that get a little tangled up there, and that'll unfortunately affect Doucette's race.
And speaking of Pietrnik, he is now pitted. That leaves just 7 cars on the lead lap as we come to complete lap 99. This time by race leader Ryan Matthews working the halfway lap here. And there is a tap from Garrett Conrath. That is the battle for the lead on the racetrack as we come to the midway point of this race. There is halfway, and there is the competition caution, which is going to pin Justin Prince all but 7 drivers 1 lap down.
This race has just been flipped upside down. And that's the importance, right, of having the knowledge and testing in to be able to know what's going to happen. And really, for some of the drivers, remember, they were involved in that early trouble and or decided to top off since they checked up big time. And this just got them a huge break for drivers like Matthews, like Conrath, like Knobloch. That gets them the track position and gets them potentially in control of this field. And it's going to be the question of how's the rest of this field going to play out, especially since the majority of the drivers are at least going to have to take the wave around.
So, Sean Butler, needless to say, this, from a strategy standpoint, is not playing out like any of us anticipated at all.
Absolutely not. I mean, I was under the impression that, hey, we're just going to go to lap 100, get our tires, and go the last 100. But these guys are rolling the dice a little bit. You can't blame them, really. Some of the guys that were further back in the field, and it was really all started by 1 or 2 guys coming in and getting that top off on fuel. So it's definitely, as Justin said, this race has just been flipped upside down, and we're going to see just who benefits the most from that round of pit stops, as it looks like all of our leaders now are making their way onto pit road to get those tires.
And that's the big thing here, Justin Prince, is the leaders, including Parker Retzlaff and a couple of the others who were on the lead lap when the caution flag came out. They're taking their fresh tires now, so they're anticipating that they're going to go to the end from here.
Yes, absolutely. And now it's going to be where half the field is pinned the lap down on top of things, where they're going to need a ton of luck here. For them, there's going to be a lot of frustration. For others, It was about the raw pace to get themselves back in the lead lap or in a position to potentially get wave arounds. This I'm not quite sure what to really say here. But this is where the importance of testing the car and putting in tons of time can come into play. If you know how long the field can be, right to the T, and some of the others don't, you can take advantage.
All right, so let's reset this, and we'll actually wait to. Normally we would go for our midway race break because we've just crossed the halfway point. But Sean, things are so crazy right now that we're actually waiting for things to settle out and get a real sense of where the rest of where all these guys are going to shake out, because scoring and strategies are so jumbled right now.
I'm really glad we have automatic scoring and we don't have to worry about all of that, but it's showing right now Garrett Conrath is your leader still. Ryan Matthews is being shown in second. Then it's showing Parker Retzlaff in third, but he's currently on pit road. So all of this is still cycling out. So it's going to be about one, maybe 2 laps before we see just who is where. But right now, I'm not seeing any indication that 9 car is coming on a pit road to get that lead up.
Big thing too, Justin Prince, I just caught it a moment ago. Parker Retzlaff just came back to pit road for a second pit stop.
Yeah, and he had to let by Parker as well, the other Parker, I should rather say. This is absolute craziness, and I think for some of them, they just want to make sure they're good to go here. They're good to go on the gas, because for just about everybody else, I don't think they're coming back down towards the pit lane for the rest of this race. For drivers like Garrett Conrath and Ryan Matthews, that puts them in contention where they ran in the 20s before everyone else started coming on in. And keep in mind, these two have been quick all week. This race just had itself flipped upside down and made things really fun for the fans' perspective to see how some of these art cars can now battle through traffic.
Whew. If you thought it was crazy during the Thanksgiving Classic, welcome to Windshield Deep, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Butler, you've taken in even more of these races from the regular Windshield Deep Racing League events than I have, and this, I think, is as nuts as we've seen it as we prepare to go back to green here in a lap or so.
Yeah, if you look up the word crazy in the dictionary, you'll see the Windshield Deep logo plastered right next to it. So they're synonymous at this point. Looks like we just got a delay of the green, though. So we're going to go one more lap before we get back going. I think they got a few more spots to kind of settle out, make sure everyone's in the right order. But yes, especially as we see this race go on, guys are going to be clamoring from the back, especially those that pit just now to get back up to the front. And as Justin mentioned, the guys on the top are going to be clamoring to get to the bottom, because we've seen throughout all the heat races yesterday that restarting on the bottom is critical to track position.
Matt Busa just came over the radio, Justin Prince, and all he said was goofy strategy races. And I could hear the sarcasm in his voice.
Don't forget the sad face with it too, Jacob. So.
I mean, he's up to 8th, so there's that. So, if anything, he's in a decent spot, but he is going to be on a bit older tires compared to everybody else who had already come down for the splash once. And that was when Jimmy Mullis had his incident. That doesn't happen. Who knows how this field is shaking up right now? That has opened up the floodgates for all these other drivers to come up. Cody Kelly, though, might be in the best shot now to try and come away with a victory, 2 from 5th.
There's the Dexter's detailing restart cam. Garrett Conrath leads the field back to green. We're underway once again in the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeeds Chaos. One car in the wall as they head for turn 1.
And I think that was Vicente Salas who just got sent hard into the fence. Didn't see who got into the back end of him, but wow.
We'll get a look at the replay in a moment. I believe it was Salas. He lit the radio up just then, and we'll get a look at it right here. Not happy at all. There's the green flag, and it was just somebody tried to cut down to the inside, and it was good until Josh Parker got to him, and Parker almost got the worst end of that. Sean climbed up on 2 wheels there on the safer barrier. We'll get a good look at it here from the onboard shot.
That's in the exact same spot that we saw the Blackford incident happen yesterday. So that was the 47 of Paul Kashiba trying to block. He tried to get to the inside line, as we were just talking about. He cut the nose off of Vicente Salas, sent him into the inside wall, and he just backed it right into Josh Parker. Dylan Alt was there in the 42. Both of those guys getting on 2 tires. And there you see the contact. In the wall goes Salas. He goes up the track and nowhere for the guys on the top of the track to go. But man, 2 similar incidents, and just as I suspected, official Kevin McAdams in the official tower giving Paul Kashiba the end of line penalty for causing the accident.
And he came right over the radio and took responsibility, and credit to him, Justin. Kashiba's a veteran of the service. He knows that one was on him. So unfortunate as it may be, that took out some heavy hitters here.
Yeah, Ray Alfalo is among the drivers now having to come down for repairs. Ryan Kuhn, Colin Keister yet again having to come down to lane. And you have, of course, Vicente Salas. Josh Parker as well in that grouping got slammed hard against the outside fence in turn 1. They're all really going to be in very tough spots. While majority of those drivers mentioned are on the lead lap, it's going to get pretty ugly. Of note, by the way, Matt Busa just came in for 26 more seconds of service as well under that, and believe for him just spent that time getting some more work done on his car.
So now that we are past halfway and have a moment to actually take in where the running order is at here in the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats, we will take a moment to give you a couple laps delayed the iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in Australian supercars, Indy cars, IMSA sports cars, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. As it stands, Garrett Conrath from 30th leads this race. Ryan Matthews from 29th is now 2nd. Marcus Fruchtenich from 24th is 3rd. Justin Knobloch from 20th rides 4th. And Cody Kelly, who led before the chaos began, he is now 5th. Brian LaPrade sits 6th. 7th is Parker Retzlaff, the pole sitter. 8th, Garrett Maines. Ryan Doucette, even after the pit road miscue that we talked about and the damage he got with GT Hawkins, Doucette has rallied back to 9th, and 10th is Matt Busa.
11th spot last time by Ray Alfalo, scored in that position, while Colin Keister scored in 12th last time by, did get some damage repairs done, as well as Ryan Kuhn. Michael Finlayson is currently coming down the pit lane 14th right now on the lead lap for a few more seconds of repairs. The first driver lap down is Bradley Erickson in 15th position. Austin Edwards is in 16th, one lap down, as well as Jimmy Moas. Robbie Keneally is in 18th. Then Zach Novak 19th. Andrew Petranek rounds out the top 20.
21st is Justin Lissaby, Blake Neer 22nd, Paul Kashiba 23rd, Josh Parker, Alex McCollum, Cody Harris, Blake Reynolds, Derek Fulton, Dylan Alt, GT Hawkins, Trayton Lapsevich, Vicente Salas, Colin Bowden, Ethan Johnson, Jackson Lewis, and Donovan Strauss will round out the field as they head down the backstretch. Jacob, and this is going to get interesting, this last run here.
It is. As we set to go back to green, this concludes the iRacing Midway Race Break with more than 170,000 drivers on the service and more than 90 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from. iRacing is your portal to the racing world. Get on track today at iRacing.com. Dexter's Detailing restart. Garrett Conrath to the point in car number 9, and the battle's on side by side for 3rd behind them as we see Cody Kelly and Parker Retzlaff trying to move their way back forward on the inside.
And they're just waiting, I think, at this point for the 182 to clear on by before they start to try and pounce Knobloch. Running in his first super late model event in his sim racing career, stuck on that top line. Brian LaPrade also going to be in trouble here. Alfalo, who just came down for some repairs, going to also be in trouble with Garrett Maines. As there goes Cody Kelly up a spot as they all try and block to the bottom.
Cody Kelly inside Justin Knobloch, 4th position. That's the battle for 4th as we come back to 85 laps to go. 115 complete. So move Cody Kelly there. Now Retzlaff to the inside of Knobloch for position.
Keep an eye on Cody Kelly and Parker Retzlaff. We see the importance of the bottom. You see where all the rubber is building up on the racetrack. It is in that middle groove, so the bottom is definitely the preferred spot. And Ray Alfalo just continues to drop back as he currently sits side by side with Bradley Erickson for the 14th, the 15th position now, I should say, as he looks like he's going to fall back in line. But Retzlaff and Kelly on a mission to get back to the front.
That they are, and a little further back, a couple side-by-side behind Ray Alfala. Colin Keister's back there, Ryan Doucette is back there, Ryan Kuhn is back there, the 77 and the 72. That is 11th, 12th, 13th position, and here's a side-by-side battle as well. Garrett Maines to the inside of Matt Busa. That is for 8th place.
Yeah, and right now, Maine's trying to just hug that yellow line, and so many drivers are trying to feed that throttle to hug said line. For Garrett Maines, making it look easy for Busa, trying to really pinch down hard. It's something you can do a lot at Richmond. Maines with the squeeze up, though, into turn 1.
Change for 3rd as that battle's going on. Cody Kelly has worked his way past Marcus Fruchtenich for position as we look off the back of Ryan Matthews, the runner-up driver. Cody Kelly quickly trying to close in on Matthews, takes a little bit of a wider arc into the corner, cuts to the bottom, tries to dime in the corner. Now they're side by side as they work across the start-finish line. Kelly to the inside of Matthews for 2nd in turn 1.
As we said, Kelly not wasting any time. Takes over 2nd from Ryan Matthews. Marcus Fruchtenich looking to follow him through. And there's Parker Retzlaff right behind that as well. He's looking to follow through as well, as Matthews still falling back. He's still side by side out of turn number 4.
If I'm Cody Kelly, now I can smell the race lead. Garrett Conrath has it. How long will he keep it? That's the question. It's a car length. That car length is evaporated down the back straightaway. Battle for the race lead. Here comes Kelly.
Makes it look easy to the inside. How hard will the Nexus Esports driver fight? Not too hard. Quickly passing on by is Cody Kelly. Move Garrett Conrath back to 2nd. Now, how long does it take for Parker Retzlaff to get up to this? Right now, the race leader running 21.8. Parker Retzlaff 21.9s, Conrath in the 22.1s already, as well as a majority of the others who came down under the caution flag for tires, mind you.
And that's tire difference is a lot of what that comes down to. The lead change for Kelly happening on lap 121, now 123 being worked. So we are 78 laps to go in the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats, and our coverage on Windshield Deep brought to you in part by SimSeats. Since 2009, SimSeats has been designing and fabricating high-quality driving simulators, including motion systems, custom fabricated parts, and complete turnkey iRacing packages, all made right here in the United States. Their customer base includes all kinds of drivers, from amateurs to professionals, and their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Don't limit your track time just to the weekend. Visit sim-seats.com for more information. Now, 125 complete, next time by 75 to go. Cody Kelly leads, Garrett Conrath, Parker Retzlaff, Marcus Fruchtenich, and Ryan Matthews, the front 5. Then it's Garrett Maines, Ray Alfala, Justin Knobloch, Briar LaPrade, and Matt Busa, the remainder of the top 10. 14 cars on the lead lap here from the virtual Richmond Raceway. We're going to go side by side, and we'll be back with more on Windshield Deep right after these words.
Hey, Hall of Fame driver Rusty Wallace here. When my body feels like it just got beat up for 500 laps, I turn to Blue-Emu's lidocaine cream to target my pain. With its patent-pending hands-free sponge applicator and non-greasy, deep-penetrating formula, Blue-Emu's lidocaine cream gets down deep for big-time pain relief. And more importantly, it doesn't leave me smelling like pit row. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got a race to win, pain-free.
Blue-Emu, maximum pain relief, the official pain relief cream of NASCAR.
Welcome back to Windshield Deep coverage of the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Jacob Seelman, Justin Prince, Sean Butler remain with you. The action on track has been fierce. Perhaps the strategy has been even fiercer. We pick up the action on track with the battle now for 4th position. Garrett Conrath losing out on that to Ray Alfala and Garrett Maines. Conrath trapped on the outside with a little bit older tires. And how about the 4-time NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion JP? Ray Alfala in his first big super late model event, as he told us of his career before the start of the race. He's really come forward in a nice way. Now P3 on track.
And we were talking about Cody Kelly potentially hitting the button. I think Ray Alfala just hit all the buttons, saying it's time to go. And he's been quick throughout the week, mind you, a top 10 car in some of the practices. And before his qualifying run, we were talking about this last night, put up a time that in the practice was among the top grouping drivers and did the same in his official time. So we know Alfala is quick in this car, even though it's his first major event. It's just a matter of, can he get up to Kelly and Retzlaff and really show what he can fully do compared to some of the others who just keep on going backwards and backwards and backwards.
I've got to give a call. I know it's not necessarily what he wanted. The strategy helped out a little bit, but the push forward of Matt Busa has just continued to impress. Started outside row 17 in 34th. He now rides in the 9th position. And for Busa, yeah, it's been a little bit of survival, but he's got a quick race car, Sean Butler, and he's quietly just kept himself in this.
Oh, he absolutely does. As JP mentioned at the start of the telecast here, this is one of his best tracks here at Richmond, especially in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, as well as an official competition. He does this along with all the other pro guys, but he likes to come from the back and make his way up to the front, and he has plenty of experience doing that, and that car still looks pristine, not a scratch on that 034 Busch Ford Fusion, as he's looking right now to the back of Briar LaPrade. This would be for 8th if he can get it done.
And JP, to jump around to one of our pre-race favorites, but Alex Mccallum, who won the Thanksgiving Classic, I'm not sure what just happened, but Mccallum was very slow on the bottom of the racetrack, got blown by the race leader Cody Kelly as the caution flag comes out, and Mccallum's now 3 laps down.
It's now 4, and I believe he might be out of the race car after he had trouble. The caution flag is for Ericsson, but 2 laps before that, Alex Mccallum had spun to the bottom of the racetrack on his 128th lap around the circuit off of turns 3 and 4, got himself to where it took 10-15 seconds to get rolling. But the reason for the caution flag, we talked about Ericsson. He's right now, or was, the first car a lap down, got some help.
We take a look at it right there on the Blue-Emu instant replay, just a spin off the exit of turn number 2, but enough to warrant the 3rd caution flag of the race. And there is Alex Mccallum. So unfortunate. We'll get a look at his issues right here, Sean. And I think everybody, Mccallum included, believed he was going to play a major part in this race. Unfortunately, not to be.
Of course, definitely one of the favorites, especially in these super late model races for Windshield Deep. Of course, won the Thanksgiving Classic, but look at that, just got loose off of turn number 4, maybe pushing it a little too hard, who knows, but I think he might have had a hardware issue, mechanical issue, who knows at this point, but right now it's just very tough to see Alex Mccallum in the position he's in right now. Definitely one of the favorites coming in.
The other 2 favorites ride in the top 2 positions, JP. Cody Kelly versus Parker Retzlaff. That was the battle that we saw for the first 75 or so laps of this race once they got to 1 and 2. And now Cody Kelly finds himself in a very similar position to what he was at the end of the Thanksgiving Classic a month ago, leading with a shot to win. You don't think he's already thinking about, okay, who's it going to be that gets into the back of me this time, is he?
You have to keep those thoughts out of your head, first of all, since it's coming up to 63 to go. But when it gets towards a couple laps to go, that's when the thoughts have to potentially be difficult to try and box out, because that's where you feel like, especially if there's a late race restart, that you might have someone go for the bumper to try and come away with $1,000 in the top prize for tonight. For Cody Kelly, though, he was one of the favorites we mentioned. His fellow competitors outside of Mccollum mentioned him the most in preparation for this race. And we've talked about Retzlaff and his motivations and drive to try and win a big event in his super late model, a car he loves to race on iRacing and is his main car on the service. He just needs to get some luck and good laps together. He wasn't as quick by about a couple 100ths, if anything, compared to Kelly during the first 100 laps of this race with the right rear tire. But this is now a chance to cool off the tires and try and pounce once more. The tough part's going to be Ray Alfala's trying to say, I'm right here, fellas. So that remains.
That it is. And while we've got a minute under this caution, let's bring you back into the booth for just a second and kind of break this down as we get set to go back under the green flag. Sean Butler, I'm excited. Is this the point where we can say it's go time, or do you think we still have another 20-30 laps before we get to that point?
I don't know, but in typical Windshield Deep fashion, it typically gets twice as exciting as it does during the midway portion of the race towards the end of the race. So definitely look to see guys, especially in the back, especially on the tail end of the lead lap, start to make their way into this top 10. But yeah, like we said, guys like Matt Busa started way back in the field, has made a I want to say just rather a methodical run to the front here. Puts himself right in a great spot. Ray Alfala, of course, is right there as well. And a lot of guys with a lot of experience on the service. They know how to get around these short tracks, but can they get around Retzlaff and Cody Kelly? That's going to be the big question, and I'm actually very excited to find out what happens.
There'll be 61 laps to go when we get set to come back to green here. 139 will be complete. We'll take the restart on 140. Pace car is off. Field in the hands of Cody Kelly and Parker Retzlaff as they come to the restart zone. The Dexter's detailing restart zone. Green flag back in the air, and Cody Kelly nails the restart. Alfala gets the run on Retzlaff. Battles on for second in turn 1.
Perfectly nailed it to take away the bottom line from Retzlaff. Alfala looking to make a statement tonight in the VRS car. Looking to get clear in 3 and 4. Retzlaff backs it up. Holds on to the quarter panel. Here comes Marcus Frutenek as he nearly gets hit by Brian LePrade. Garrett Main stuck in the top as Alfala's up to second.
Alfala to second. Retzlaff coming with the crossover, but Ray says no. He'll slice back to the bottom of the racetrack. All this 2 car lengths behind race leader Cody Kelly. Brian LePrade is clear of Frutenek. That's the battle for the 4th spot, and Frutenek slices down in front of Mains. They're all going at it back in the pack.
Man, what must be going through Cody Kelly's mind right now? Had to hold off one of the best super late drivers on the service in Alex Mccallum in the Thanksgiving Classic. Now he's only got one of the best oval drivers to ever do it, breathing down his neck at Ray Alfala. So we're definitely going to see what he can do to keep that lead. But this battle right here for 5th between Garrett Mains and Marcus Frutenek only heating up, and you got Matt Busa and Justin Knobloch right behind them.
How about a driver who's just jumped back on the lead lap? He was at the tail of the lead lap, but now Jimmy Mullis in the 40 is absolutely flying. Justin Prince, the Richmond Raceway esports driver, eNASCAR, Coca-Cola iRacing Series veteran, he is on the march in a big way.
Yes, indeed, and right now has drivers pouncing up in front of him. Zach Novak nearly got hit into the back end trying to block a run for Bradley Erickson. He's trying to carry a ton of speed by about a 10th of a lap quicker than your race leaders at the moment. So he is lightning fast on this racetrack after that early trouble. He has a clean race car outside of that right front. He's going to have to capitalize that in quick as Matt Booth is now trying to capitalize and get track position.
JP, we may have to check on this, but I'm wondering if Mullis didn't save his tires and take them a little bit later with a couple of these caution flags. That may equate to a little bit of the time difference. On board here, the Speed Not Apparel onboard camera with Michael Fenlisson, who's worked his way into the top 10 from 33rd. First time we've really called Fenlisson's name all night long. And confirmed, JP, as you and I were both looking into this just now, Jimmy Mullis saved those tires, took them a little later, and he is absolutely coming through the field, going for 12th on Garrett Conrath.
And that's right behind your Speed Nut Apparel onboard cam. That was Ryan Doucette we were with as Mullis. This could be a winning move if he keeps his car clean. Right now, he is consistently being quicker and quicker and still has a ton of lap traffic to get through. Once he gets through them, the big question mark is how well will those tires be when he gets to the lead lap cars for position here. He is starting to reach the back end of Doucette. 3 more cars to get by before positions once more.
54 coming to 53 laps to go as we continue to look at side-by-side battles. Matt Busa right now up into the 7th position, make that up into 6th as they get around Justin Knobloch. 2nd is still contested. Ray Alfala and Parker Retzlaff nose to tail. JP looking at Ray Alfala just sitting stalking. This is typical Ray Alfala, waiting until the end to make his move, but considering he has not run these super late models and we still see where he sits, can we put to bed the debate now of whether Ray Alfala is not one of the best oval drivers on this service in anything that he gets in? This to me is an unreal performance from 4-time.
It's been an absolutely incredible performance from him because when I seen him on the entry list, my thought was, I'm curious to see how he does because in the California Clash in the 1987 cars, he was one of the quickest there. Guess what? Jumps in a super, one of the quickest in the field. It just seems like when the car meshes with him and the track combinations right especially, he can jump in and immediately be quick from the get-go. But that's the best of the best and what they have to do. You have to be able to compete at the highest levels against the best of the best drivers, and in some cases be adaptable to quick reactions, and in some cases be able to prepare quickly for an event such as this like Alfala.
50 laps to go. That last time by Sean Butler. Let's go back to Jimmy Mullis. He's cracked the top 10 on those fresher tires. He is up to 9th place. He wants more than that as we look at the Speed Nut Apparel onboard for a brief moment. But there is Jimmy Mullis, who's now in 8th position. He soars around the outside of his Richmond Raceway Esports teammate Zach Novak, who's still trapped the lap down. But more importantly, I mentioned the point right there. Richmond Raceway Esports, this is home turf. Jimmy Mullis is trying to defend, and if he could steal a victory off strategy like this, oh boy, as he goes underneath Matt Busa for 7th.
Could have been a monumental victory for Richmond Raceway Esports and for Jimmy Mullis. I was thinking, watching them come to the field, he might have been using Zach Novak as a battering ram to get to all those lap cars, as Justin alluded to, and that works out just fine as Novak has since backed off, and now that Mullis has a lot more clear sailing ahead of him, he's looking to cut through this field. Paul Kashiba just ahead of him is not on the lead lap, but as soon as he gets by him, Briar LaPrade is going to be the next victim, and that is going to put Mullis into the top 5. Just an incredible run for Jimmy Mullis. Started 10th on the day. He's worked his way back at the 6th after getting that in that wreck early.
The tires, JP, are what? Some 25, 30 laps newer than all these leaders who pitted at the competition yellow? I mean, Jimmy Mullis is cutting through the field like a hot knife through butter. I don't think it's a question of if he's going to get there, it's when.
And I think Ryan Matthews might be on the same strap, because just notice coming up behind him after his end of the longest line penalty, he's charging too at a similar pace. It might explain why he let cars go by quickly. Keep in mind, if there's a late race caution we've seen with some of the strategy calls, that could open up the floodgates for some of these competitors. In the 2 drivers we just mentioned, Matthews, Cars Esport Tour champion when it comes to super late models. Jimmy Mullis, one of the top competitors in short track racing, where in SARA specifically, he's always a championship threat on that side of the service. In other words, 2 of the best in all short track racing overall in some of the big series, looking to show what they can do on the big stage tonight.
It's going to be the big question that we have to get the answer to. If there's a late race caution, does anyone have tires left or not? Right now, Jimmy Mullis clocking at almost 3/10 a lap quicker than race leader Cody Kelly. He takes almost a quarter-second bite out of Kelly's lead. It is down to 1.6 seconds. Jimmy Mullis is in the top 5. Sean Butler, it is a matter of time as we see a side-by-side battle now. Ray Alfala, Michael Finlayson going at it. That's for 2nd on track.
And what a drive by Finlayson as well. He started back in 33rd. He makes his way up to 2nd, so excellent job by Finlayson to get by the 4-time NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Ray Alfala. Not an easy task, by the way, but you look just off your screen there, the number 40 Toyota Supra going into turn number 3. Jimmy Mullis stalking these guys. He's got Parker Retzlaff right in his windshield, and he has plenty of time to get through these guys, but the question becomes, how much time does he take to get from here to Cody Kelly?
Finlayson, maybe another one, JP, that looks to be potentially on a little bit fresher tires than race leader Cody Kelly.
Yes, indeed, and he's slowly but surely creeping on forward too with some of the strategy calls, and for him, it's been a really good year overall, where it's 25 laps now on the tires, and this could be a big call for the Lockdown Racing guys overall, for them to make this move, because you have Finlayson making his way through, you have Mullis coming through. Absolutely big.
And I would say for sure at this point, with the bite that Finlayson just took out of Kelly's lead last time by a 1/10.5 quicker, I would say he's got to be on fresher tires as well. Jimmy Mullis up to the 4th spot now, and right on the back bumper of Ray Alfala. The battle for 3rd is on. Here comes Mullis to the inside, headed for turn 3.
And Alfala just lets him go. Another guy we have to look at, though, another guy on similar strategy. You've got to go back to, of course, Ryan Matthews in the 51, the 511, as is being shown in the server, but he's on 28 lap old tires. So according to my scoring here, Matthews has 28 laps on his tires, Mullis 26, and Finlayson with 28. So the tires playing a big factor, as we talked about all race, as we look at the speed nut on board with Ryan Matthews as he looks underneath Retzlaff off of turn 4. Retzlaff, though, not going to go down easy down the back, or the front stretch, I should say.
Jimmy Mullis now in 3rd. Big thing to watch as Finlayson closes on race leader Cody Kelly is this, JP. 2 drivers that we're fairly certain do have their sticker tires sitting in the pit area. Right now, the 9 of Garrett Conrath, who sits at the very tail of the lead lap, and Briar LaPrade.
And if anything happens, they could be in the driver's seat. But the problem's going to be they'll have to pass by a bunch of drivers on older tires, and that's easier said than done because that can also mean 3 wide or 4 wide at Richmond, which is never good at the action track because, as we've seen, it can cause trouble. So in other words, I think for some of these cars like Moas, like Finlayson, you're saying stay green, please stay green.
Michael Finlayson, could he steal the race win? Will he have to fend off a lockdown teammate to do it? Jimmy Mullis is close to within a second. Cody Kelly is going to have nothing left to fight with, Sean. It's not a question of if they're going to get there, it's when. Finlayson is almost on the back bumper of the 75 for the lead now.
I'm still very impressed, though. Cody Kelly has 31.
Parker Retzlaff up on the fence, just got bumped out of the way by the fresh tires of Ryan Matthews. There was a big amount of defense from Retzlaff before that. Just got a tiny nudge on the checkup on his left rear that put him in the fence.
Novak got pinned on the outside there and is going to lose positions. Novak, the second car, 1 lap down right now. And Cody Kelly, I think, has picked up the pace a little bit as we get a look at the Blue-Emu replay. And there's the bump to Retzlaff, who kept the damage to a minimum. I mean, he slowed it down to not just pancake it, JP, but still a tough break for the driver who started on the pole and dominated the first third of this race.
That's still going to really hurt his straight line speed overall and is already looking like it's affecting the handling. That is not what Parker Retzlaff, I think, wanted for this night because as a result, he's already to the end of the top 10 because of that contact. But the battle for the race lead, I think if you are Michael, you're just waiting and saving, especially with Jimmy trying to close up to the back end of him still and Ryan Matthews trying to still get by Rail Fowler.
If Jimmy Mullis gets past Finlayson for second, I think, Sean, at that point, Cody Kelly's got to start thinking about losing the race lead because I think Kelly's got enough to hold Finlayson off. But when you get somebody with Jimmy Mullis's experience back there, it's going to be a hot knife through butter, I think. I really do.
I mean, I'm still impressed with Cody, as I was saying before the trouble hit. He has 31 more laps on his tires, but he's still running times similarly to Finlayson and Mullis. I'm not sure how much Mullis and Finlayson are saving, but he's starting to pull a bit more distance on the 14 and the 40. So the bigger cushion he can make for himself as we see Mullis finally make the pass, the longer it's going to take for Jimmy to get to this lead, and that could play a factor in how Jimmy wears his tires.
This is big here. Finlayson, I think, let him go. Caution flag waves. 4th caution of the race is out with 29 laps to go. Trouble front straightaway. It was Briar LaPrade.
It looks like it originated turn 3. It looks like he just self-spun going into 3 and then just stopped at the entry to pit lane. So we'll get a replay here on this, but Jacob, I'm not really sure what can happen here. He just loses it going into 3 and just rested on the apron there.
Now, that would be good, Justin, except for one problem. He lost the lead lap trying to get back going again, and that is going to doom his ability really to use those fresh tires that he had in the pit area.
Yeah, that is going to really, really, really hurt him, to say the very least. I don't think he's got a shot whatsoever now. He's going to have to let the whole field on by, in fact, because of that, were he trying to get back going. But this just made things absolutely crazy because guess who this helps? Eric Conrath among those drivers that this is going to be really big for, to where they can boot on even fresher tires. And now it gets fun with Moas up to second on top of things, with him potentially starting the outside here, and that gap gone Kelly had.
Game on, Sean Butler? Can we say that now with 27 to go?
Oh, you're hit the nail right on the head. If I'm Cody Kelly, I am not happy at all that this caution came out. As I was mentioning before, he and Jimmy were running very similar lap times. It would have taken a lot of effort for Jimmy just to get to him. I don't know about to pass it, but Cody did a great job of keeping whatever rubber is left on those tires on it. And he might have had the chance to fend off Jimmy if Jimmy used up his tires to get to him. But man, this just made it all that much easier for Jimmy. I would be very surprised if Cody Kelly is able to keep this lead for more than 2 or 3 laps after this restart.
If JP, you're Jimmy Mullis, are you happy you're starting on the outside knowing how much fresher the tires are on that 40?
even though the fresher, not so much, because again, you're going to have to try and get the pass done, I think, in the bottom. It helps a little bit for the launch, especially if there's tire spin, but still, I think you still want to be on the bottom. Again, I don't think this caution is exactly going to be too helpful. Yes, it closes out the gap, as I mentioned, but it's also to where now, if it gets caution, Kelly's in control of the field, essentially, to try and play this out. By the way, I believe Briar LaPrade on that, he was one of the drivers who did not take tires during the Comp Yellow or the Yellows, guys. I don't think the tires can last 200 laps, so if that's the case, I'm pretty sure a tire blew. Guess what? We found out the limit of how long that tire can last.
We did, and you know, I hadn't thought about that until you just said it, Justin, but you're right. Briar, being on the tires he started the race on, was trying to go as long as he could, and as you mentioned, it just unfortunately did not hold up for the driver of the 19. We'll take a quick moment to go side by side, do a last little bit of business. 25 to go in the Blue-Emu short track shootout, presented by Sim Seats here on Windshield Deep.
Drivers, start your engines. Now that we're an official partner of NASCAR, say hello to the new look of Blue-Emu. Gets down deep into your joints and muscles for fast-acting relief. They work fast and you won't stink.
Welcome back to the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by Sim Seats here from the virtual Richmond Raceway on Windshield Deep. Jacob Seelman, Justin Prince, Sean Butler. It is about to be a shootout. Lights are off on the pace car. 23 laps to the finish here at the 3/4 mile oval in the Commonwealth. Cody Kelly, Jimmy Mullis, the front row. Michael Finlayson, Ray Alfalla, Ryan Matthews, Matt Busa. They're the front six. Garrett Maines and Colin Keister back in 7th and 8th. Slow to the restart zone. Now, Cody Kelly takes off, and Jimmy Mullis backs it up to try to get to the inside. He will get to the inside and leave Ray Alfalla to fend off Finlayson to turn 1. The battle's on.
Ray Alfalla trying to get the squeeze. Oh, well, some of the drivers on fresher tires.
Watch Retzlaff.
And Retzlaff among the drivers trying to really play defense on some of those drivers. Ryan Kuhn, Garrett Conrad on fresh tires. Both had to snake their way around too wide to the back of the field on the fresh tires.
I said it, JP, because I thought Retzlaff was about to cut them, or thread the needle rather, right up the middle of the racetrack, and almost caused a crash there in that 42. Hung on to it, made it work. He's back there. Zach Novak is back there, still a lap down, but trying to get through. And there is Blake Neer now as well, that Retzlaff's going to have to fight through, potentially fresher tires. I thought he had taken some earlier, but now it's 3 wide down to turn 1 with Ericsson on the bottom.
Ericsson again involved in one of those incidents earlier in the races. It's very tight off of turn number 2. Ericsson is able to get clear, and Retzlaff, again, one of those guys, came into the pits last time by, but did not take tires. The only guys that did take tires who got trouble, it's Ryan. Oh man, the 77's around off of turn 4.
Ryan Doucette around. Caution flag waves for the 5th time in this race with 20 laps to go. And that is going to really dwindle the lap count down. Probably about 15 laps left when we go back under green. But this time, JP, it was Ryan Doucette, unfortunately, that was the catalyst for all this to get started as we take a look at the Blue-Emu instant replay.
And this was a crazy sequence throughout the entire corner before that with some of the blocking, but that also collected Ryan Kuhn, who got contact from the inside, and Colin Keister trying to make it 3 wide and 2.5 lanes. Right here, very tight, bam, around they go. And there goes one of the drivers on newer tires.
That's all I got, Sean Butler. It's getting crazy now.
It definitely is. I mean, we talked about it before the last restart. If it's anything like a typical Windshield Deep event, it's going to get crazy towards the end, and these guys aren't disappointing. But I'm still very surprised. Cody Kelly has done a fantastic job of keeping that 175 ahead of everybody. I thought for sure that Jimmy's tires were too new for him to stay up there, but Cody's done a great job of saving what he can to ensure he can withstand the run from Jimmy. We just got to see if he can get that thing to victory lane and hold him off for about 16 or 17 more laps when we go green. But that is a tall task for that 175 to get done.
JP, two drivers that we know for sure came down and took tires under the caution before this one. Garrett Conrath, Ryan Kuhn. They restart 8th and 9th respectively, and they are only now going to have the 7 drivers in front of them for position when we go back green. If you're somebody like Garrett Conrath, this is exactly what you were hoping for, because now you can really make that fresh rubber go to work.
Exactly, and they're going to be potentially a couple tenths of a second quicker than the rest of the pack because of how late they held on the tires without blowing the said tires out. The main concern I have, though, is getting it done cleanly, because they have a couple more drivers who are on tires from about halfway and or from that first half of the race during the pit stops, and then they get to the layer of cars who are around 30 lap for older tires instead of being about 60 lap plus tires. That's where I think it's going to get really aggressive and defensive if it doesn't already go 3 wide with them trying to get through. In other words, you get it done safely, it might win you the race. You get collected like Ryan Kuhn just about did with significant damage, which is already to his right side, you're likely going to lose the race for obvious reasons. Because, well, if you ain't first...
You don't even have to finish the sentence. I think we all know at this point. 17 to go as it sits. So we close in quickly on the finish of this one. Again, $1,000 and 4 tickets to the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500 at Martinsville Speedway this spring on the line to the race winner. And that's a good reminder that tonight's coverage of the Blue-Emu Short Track Shootout, presented by SimSeats on Windshield Deep, is brought to you in part by Blue-Emu and the Blue-Emu line of products, including Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief. It works fast and you won't stink. For more information or to order now, visit blue-emu.com. And the field's starting to double up. Cody Kelly and Jimmy Mullis on the front row, and the good news for Jimmy Mullis is he's got a teammate in Michael Finlayson back there kitty corner to him, starting 3rd. Does that come into play on this restart, JP, or is this the point where it's every man for themselves?
Well, we've seen the give and take between Mullis and Finlayson before. It is going to help them a little bit, especially if they feel Mullis has the best shot. Off and away they go through the Dexter's detailing restart cam, and yes, it does. Finlayson giving him some space. Now it's Alfalo who's in a bit of trouble as they're 2-3 wide behind.
Side by side for 3rd, side by side for 5th, side by side for 7th as they work off turn 2. But the battle for the race lead is Cody Kelly, 3 car lengths up on Jimmy Mullis, 2 car lengths, a car length and a half down to turn 3. Meanwhile, Finlayson and Alfalo still side by side, 14 laps to go across the stripe. Alfalo trying to use the high lane momentum. Here comes Ryan Matthews, thought about 3 wide, and Alfalo gets turned off the corner and saves it.
What a save by Ray Alfalo. That helps Ryan Matthews get through. They're still 3 wide. Alfalo still on the top. Garrett Maines, and they still get together. Another save by Alfalo, and he's still dropping back, but unbelievable driving by the 2 of Ray Alfalo, but he continues to be 3 wide into 1.
That is why he is the best of the best. Meanwhile, up front, battles on for 3rd. Matt Busa has come from nowhere to challenge Ryan Matthews for position. Busa in the Busch Beer 4 to the inside, and caution flag waves for the 6th time.
That's a big wreck in turn 3. Blake Reynolds is sliding along the apron. I'm not really seeing anybody else in that, but man, that was some great close quarters racing if I ever seen it. And again, this is going to shake up everything with this late caution.
Get a look at the replay here in a moment. There's Blake Reynolds getting back going and all the way on his side, riding the wall for... I can't help but laugh. I can't. JP, that is Windshield Deep to its fullest if I've ever seen one.
Caught him doing that during practice yesterday, and he said that exact same thing. But the reason for all that is, look what's going on around Parker Retzlaff and company. They go 3 wide into turn 1 and 2, and it continues all the way to the back straight away. The tough part is when you get to the back straight away, with how important the bottom line is, somebody eventually is going to try and get the squeeze. They have a bit of contact right there as one car takes the wall. That collects everybody. Reynolds nowhere to go as they all stack up, and he eventually does save it and drift around before eventually saying, you know what, it's time to go Herbie fully loaded style against the fence.
JP, looks like that's Justin Lisenby in the 31 there. The JDR Graphics entry just hits the wall right off of turn 2. They are really nowhere for Erickson and Retzlaff to go, and there is Blake nowhere to go for him either. So a big wreck collects some big hitters, and Jacob will rack him up and start all over again as this race winds down even further.
And all of these cautions, JP, if you're Jimmy Mullis, you're wishing it would just stay green, because the heat cycles on those fresher tires are going to start to nullify the advantage that he has over Cody Kelly. But the driver who really came forward, and now Mullis doesn't have the advantage of a teammate anymore. The driver that really came forward, and I'm not sure if he may have pitted late as well, but Matt Busa from nowhere is going to restart third.
Which is incredible for someone like him who's getting into these cars. And keep in mind, part of the reason for the paint scheme is he didn't even realize yesterday, for example, he had pink rims. That's how much he hadn't been on the race car in this race car before. This is the paint scheme he put on years ago on this race car, mind you. For him, getting into this super late models for the past month or so has been big, and he's had some strong speed, especially tonight, and especially in the LCQ earlier today. In other words, he might be able to get this job done because of all these heat cycles being able to even out and some of that consistency coming into play with Richmond being a good track for him.
Sean Butler, I just caught it briefly in our stream chat a moment ago. Somebody asked, who is Cody Kelly? The short answer is Cody Kelly's the driver who led all but the final about 400 feet of the Windshield Deep Thanksgiving Classic a month ago. But it's more than just that. As you and I know, he's a driver who has been at the front of a lot of these big short track races and really, really cut his teeth in this corner of the iRacing service.
Oh, of course. I mentioned in the qualifying sessions for the Thanksgiving Classic, Cody was one of the sleepers coming in, and then he just removed that title altogether shortly after by grabbing the pole and shocking everybody. But if you watch the Windshield Deep Racing League every week on Monday nights, he is a threat to win the race every single week in the 1987 cars especially. He is one of the most underrated short track drivers on the whole service. But I think if he's able to hang on in this, actually, no matter what happens, underrated is not going to be associated with Cody anymore. He's proven himself to be one of the best, as he's holding off so far some of the best the service has to offer on the oval side.
Lights are out atop the pace car. It'll be 7 to go in regulation. There is the possibility of overtime if we need it. Cody Kelly, Jimmy Mullis, row 1. Matt Busa, Ryan Matthews, row 2. Row 3 is where the freshest tires in the field are. That is where you find Ryan Kuhn and Garrett Conrad, 5th and 6th. What can they do on this restart? Pace car's off. Deep into the restart zone again goes Cody Kelly. Stacks the field up. Green flag back in the air. Mullis going to try to cut down before Busa can get there. He will. Mullis goes low. Busa goes lower. They're side by side for 3rd and 1.
And still very defensive right on behind him is Ryan Kuhn on the fresher tires, the first of that group, and to get right to the inside of Matthews. The main thing is going to be, though, can he find his way quickly by Matt Busa, Jimmy Mullis and company to battle his way to the race lead? It's going to be critical. Cody Kelly still in control with 6 to go.
He's got to have 6 perfect laps. Just over 4 miles remain, Sean. And at this point, Matt Busa is done waiting around. He wants to try and get around Jimmy Mullis, and he wants to have a shot at the $1,000 prize here.
This is what Cody Kelly wants to see. Jimmy Mullis has a mirror full of Matt Busa down the front straightaway. Looks to the inside into turn number 1. Not going to get it done. But the sooner these guys get side by side, the more Cody Kelly can advance his lead. And don't look now, but Busa's also got Ryan Kuhn in the 72 right behind him as they're wrecking on the backstretch a little further back.
Big crash and the yellow will wave. That is going to set us up for overtime here in the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by Sim Seats. And Blake Neer involved in this. It was in the mid-pack, JP. I didn't see exactly what started it, but I know what ended it, and it was carnage.
And it was Paul Kashiba who tried to avoid the wall, who I think even grazed it, and then swung down to the 182, getting so tight he got loose, and Blake Neer, the innocent bystander, all that, just gets spun around. Great job by the rest of the field to avoid him, but now this gets concerning if you're at the front of the field, because now this is where the chrome horn can come into play as a result of this caution flag. This just changed the complexion of the potential finish.
And we will go to overtime here in a matter of moments. So when we go back green, it'll be green, white, checker to decide the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by Sim Seats. And somewhere, Sean Butler, the proprietor of the Richmond Raceway Esports social media, Brandon Brown, has got to be sitting on the edge of his chair, absolutely loving every moment of this. When Richmond brought this to Windshield Deep, to Landon Huffman, Dylan Wilson, and wanted to put this event together, they were hoping for that Game 7 barn burner moment, and I got to believe we're about to get it.
Oh, they're absolutely going to get it. If you guys watched the first edition of the Windshield Deep events with the Thanksgiving Classic, that ended in fireworks as well, and this has all the lookings of ending in just as big of fireworks as well. This has been a fantastic race to watch, especially at the end, and you got some of iRacing's best getting ready to settle it for $1,000 and 4 tickets to Martinsville, and I can't wait to see how this plays out. But it's going to be definitely interesting to see just how long Cody Kelly can hold these guys off.
So there are 2 attempts, JP, at a green-white checker finish for those watching on at home. So we've got 2 shots at this. They'll take the green flag after this caution period and try to go 2 laps. If we get a caution, we'll try it one more time. And at that point, they'll either throw a caution to end it or we'll race it out no matter what happens.
And this could be crazy, like I just mentioned a little bit, because we mentioned the bumper. Matt Booth has talked about it. He does not want to win that way unless he knows somebody has done it in the past, is what he had told me a couple days ago. Think about it this way. Remember the ERL All-Star race? Guess he used a bit of the bumper then? Jimmy Mullis. So there is a bit there, but it's also to where I think you have to be able to hope to get it done cleanly and right. If you do use the bumper, don't junk the guy. Do it clean.
That's something that we are going to be watching, and you have to. Now, if you're Ryan Kuhn, Sean Butler, at this point, how much do those fresh tires matter when you're pinned on the outside for this restart?
Well, we've seen throughout this race, it is tough to get to the inside if you're pinned on the outside, no matter what tires you have. So it's going to be critical for Ryan Kuhn to pay very close attention to Cody Kelly and find out the pinpoint time that he hits the accelerator so he can get to the inside and try to get by these guys ahead of him. It's tough, though. You got, of course, Matt Busa's there, Jimmy Mullis is there. They are not easy to pass whatsoever, no matter what tires you have. So if Kuhn wants to make any noise at the end of this thing, he's got to get to the bottom, and he's got to do it quick.
This is going to get crazy, guys. Absolutely crazy.
Incredible stuff. I'm on the edge of my seat. I hope you guys at home are as well. But Jacob, coming to the restart zone, this is about to get intense. 1 shot at green-white checkered. I'm excited for this.
First attempt of 2 as they get ready to come into the Dexter's Detailing restart zone. Cody Kelly waits on it, waits on it, waits on it some more. Green flag back in the air, and this time Matt Busa doesn't give Jimmy Mullis a chance to get down. He's working to the inside, battle for second in turn 1.
And a great launch by Busa. Mullis trying to get down, and instead he puts him in the fence. Big crash down the back straightaway.
Oh, wow.
They all pile up as we'll have a second green-white checkered.
Oh my, and it was a case Busa, I think, was trying to get clear, and that last inch, Sean Butler, that last inch wasn't enough.
I'm looking at the replay right now. We'll have it coming to you in just a second, but I really can't put this on anybody. I'm looking right now. Watch the 2 guys in front right behind Cody Kelly. The 40 of Mullis, the 034 of Busa going into turn number 1 side by side. Mullis is going to try to get the run off the corner. He pinches a little bit too low, I think, on Busa as Busa's trying to make the exit, and they just came together and it just sent everybody around. I can't really put that on one person. I don't know if you're seeing anything else, JP, but that is definitely a racing deal if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. You have Mullis trying to pinch down on trying to keep him on the bottom side and get the run off the corner at least for a shot. You have Busa trying to get as much as he can off the corner to try and get clear. Just absolutely craziness. And just wow. Just absolutely wow. And as we've seen tonight, you pinch, you've paid the price. And well, a lot of people have paid the price tonight in various different ways, regardless of fault in some of those cases.
And how about the driver that snuck through all of that calamity to run second? It is not either of the Richmond Raceway esports drivers that were in this year's iteration of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, but it's the Richmond Raceway esports development driver and Elliott Sadler esports driver for the Pro Series, Garrett Maines, who is going to line up on the outside of the front row with Cody Kelly. I wouldn't have pegged that, Sean Butler, at the start of this race. And oh, by the way, Richmond is Garrett's hometown racetrack. He grew up in nearby Powhatan, Virginia, and he won at Richmond in the Pro Series a couple of weeks ago to boot.
Man, he must have a four-leaf clover in that car or something, as we saw in the Speed Nut Apparel on-board cam there. The seas basically parted for Garrett Maines, and he was just able to drive on through there completely unscathed. And now, as you mentioned, Jacob, he is in prime position to win this. But as we've mentioned before, how soon can he get to that inside line? And how soon can he get in front of Matt Busa? Because we know Matt's going to do whatever he can to get to second so we can get to Cody Kelly to win this thing.
Field is doubled up, waiting to see if the lights go out this time, and they do not. So we'll go at least another 2 laps here under caution before we go back green. JP, of the drivers that are left, I think really the only 3 that I don't see with much, if any, damage are Cody Kelly, Garrett Maines, and out of all that, somehow Matt Busta got away pretty well unscathed, believe it or not.
Again, it was just the very fraction of the right rear. And keep in mind, the first driver with significant damage was Alfaro you just seen. But this is still not done yet, I don't think. I think this comes down to the final corner, because I think at least a love tap may come into play. But again, it all comes down to how this all plays out now and how you want to win this race and how you want it pictured in your mind. And as a person, how you want a finish like this to go.
Lights are out atop the iRacing pace car. This will be the last shot at a green-white checker finish. Here's how it's going to set up. Cody Kelly, Garrett Maines, row 1. Matt Busa, Ray Alfala, row 2. Ryan Matthews, Marcus Fruchtenick, row 3. Blake Neer, Parker Retzlaff, Zach Novak. From the tail end of the lead lap at the last green-white checker to 9th for this one, and Ryan Doucette. And Jimmy Mullis just came over the radio as we get set to come back to green and said no way was Matt Busa at fault for that. That right there was what racing for $1,000 looks like. Field in the restart zone. Kelly, Maines, green flag back in the air, underway. Maines going to try to cut down. Busa getting a shove from the 51 of Ryan Matthews to turn 1.
Busa gets sent into the corner. He slides and saves it. They make contact behind. They're still crashing off the corner. We still stay greens. They pile up down the back straightaway. Garrett Maines up to second down the front stretch.
They're going to race it out. White flag in the air, this time by for Cody Kelly, who's on a redemption trip as they head back to 1 for the final time.
Cody Kelly with a 2-car length advantage on Garrett Maines. All he has to do is put together the last 2 corners, and he is set down the back straightaway. Kelly into 3 and 4 for the final time.
Cody Kelly, a bridesmaid in the E-Thanksgiving Classic tonight. He'll bank $1,000 in the Blue-Emu short track shootout. Checkers in the air, and Cody Kelly gets his redemption here on Windshield Deep. He wins at the 3/4 mile bull ring in the Commonwealth over Garrett Maines, Ryan Matthews, Marcus Fruchtenick, Blake Neer, the top 5. Redemption for the driver of the 75, Cody Kelly. A dominant performance and getting some kudos over the radio from Garrett Maines. Justin Prince, he said he wanted the check, and Cody Kelly's got it now.
Absolutely a big race. I think all the drivers feel a lot of respect for him as well, because they've known him for a long time in the service. He's been competing in these cars since the mid-2010s. Finally gets himself that major victory in 2020. It took a few weeks, but man, was he quick all night long. He was one of the quickest cars and the cars to beat from the get-go.
And I don't know, Sean Butler, as we take a look at the results coming up on our screen, I don't think there's much of any disappointed drivers in the house. All I've heard are a ton of kudos. Cody Kelly has tried for so long to win one of these big events. Finally, he has his day.
Oh man, I try to remain as unbiased as I can, but after all the work we do with the Windshield Deep Racing League, bringing those races to you guys every week, I am so happy to see Cody Kelly finally get the big one tonight. He's had such bad luck in the Windshield Deep Racing League over the weeks, and to him finally getting the win in this is super cool to see. Big time congratulations to Cody Kelly, and as you were saying, everybody very happy to see Cody go to victory lane. Very big widespread congratulations for him as the race ended.
Big time bird out. Here's the results. Cody Kelly wins it. Garrett Maines second. Ryan Matthews. Marcus Fruchtinek comes through for fourth place finish. Blake Neer fifth. Ray Alfala in his super late model debut sixth. Zach Novak seventh. Justin Knobloch came back for an eighth place finish. Brad Erickson ninth. And Ryan Kuhn, despite all the chaos of the late race incidents and his fresh tire gamble that didn't quite work out, gets a top 10 finish out of all this, JP.
Ryan Doucette comes home at 11th and all of that. Well, Parker Retzlaff, who was a dominant car early, didn't have the luck smile his direction towards the end of this one. 12th is where he finishes. Colin Keister in 13th. Jimmy Mullis already apologizing with all that, with what happened for that first GWC attempt on the outside. 14th place is where he finishes. Briar LaPrade, his teammate, 15th. Garrett Conrath, Michael Finlayson, Matt Busa, Josh Parker, Robbie Canelli rounding out the top 20.
Paul Kashiba 21st. Austin Edwards comes home 22nd. Cody Harris 23rd. Blake Reynolds rounds out 24th. Derek Fulton will end up in 25th. Andrew Pietrnik in 26th. Justin Lisenby, saw him involved in the incident later on. He will finish 27th. Trayton Lapsevich 28th. GT Hawkins, we saw that pit entry incident early in the race. He will finish 29th. Alex McCollum, one of the favorites, one of the toughest breaks we've seen in these events. He is going to finish 30th. And rounding out the last few spots, Dylan Alt 31st, Vicente Salas 32nd, Colin Bowden 33rd, Ethan Johnson 34th, Jackson Lewis 25th, and Donnie Strauss taking the bounty, but he ends up paying for it. Unfortunately, he's involved in an early wreck, and he's going to finish 36th.
And it's time for a Blue-Emu instant reaction with tonight's race winner, Cody Kelly, presented by Blue-Emu and Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief. It works fast and you won't stink. So we'll see if we can't bring our race winner up into the broadcast now. Cody Kelly, after a runner-up finish and a heartbreaker in the E-Thanksgiving Classic, we knew all week coming in you wanted redemption in this league, in this field. This is redemption, $1,000 and 4 tickets to Martinsville in the spring. First off, congratulations. How on earth did you hold them off through all those late restarts?
Man, I have no idea. Those guys, they had some fresh tires, but I guess whenever I got out front, I was able to save some. And those cautions came out. I think they kind of helped me a little bit. They cooled my tires back down, and I was able to grip up pretty good off the corner. But man, this is crazy. This is definitely the biggest race I've ever won. So many good names in here I've looked up to racing, and man, this is awesome. Coming from Southern National, the Thanksgiving race, I led 149 laps at 150. And I knew coming in, I was like, I have to win this race. And man, this is awesome.
What? How big you said it right there that you had to win this one. I mean, how much was the end of the Thanksgiving Classic on your mind as those restarts just kept piling up towards the end? I mean, were you waiting on the bump?
Oh yeah, man. I've been thinking about it all race long. I was just hoping I can get some good starts and get out front, and I was just hoping I could pull away from them. And luckily I was. I mean, my car was on a rail, man.
I saw the congratulations just pour in over the radio. I mean, I know you're a fan favorite over here on Windshield Deep, and it seems like tonight, realistically, you were a driver favorite too. There's a lot of guys who have been waiting a long time to see you win one of these things, and finally got it done.
Oh yeah, man. I've gotten so many texts and calls and people PMing me, everything, but I couldn't have done it without my man Chalmers Parker. He got on the box for me. He called all the pit strategy stuff because everybody at Windshield Deep, I usually run their league, and they know I'm not very good on the pit strategy stuff. So he helped me out a ton on there, and he kept me out front, and got me out front, and we were able to hold him off. Man, this is awesome. Can't thank y'all guys enough for doing the broadcast, and Landon Huffman and all his guys for all they do. Man, this is awesome.
You have any plans for the $1,000, or is that to be determined?
Maybe I might go buy me a set of tires for my race car or something. Let's see. We'll see.
All right, so I'll ask that as a follow-up. For the fans who may not know what you race in real life, what class can we see you in on the weekends and where?
I raced at Florence Motor Speedway, Didlin Motor Speedway. Was racing at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Raced the Super Truck, and I got a twin brother. He races late model. Sometimes I drive late model, and we go back and forth on what we drive. But most of the time, I'm gonna be driving a white number 5 truck at Florence Motor Speedway.
Been down there a couple times. Florence is a great place, and definitely we'll hope to see you then, Cody, in 2021. But I know how big it is for you. Congratulations, man, and enjoy it. Find a cool spot for the trophy, too.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank y'all so much. This is awesome.
Kelly, Blue-Emu instant reaction from the race winner, and we'll toss it right to another Blue-Emu instant reaction. Tonight's runner-up, Justin Prince, you're standing by with the Richmond Raceway Esports development driver and Elliott Sadler Esports young gun, Garrett Maines.
Yes, indeed. And Garrett, you had a quiet race tonight, ran about the top 10 much of the evening, and then the crazy switch got turned on. Your thoughts on this one as you come away with the second step on the podium and just 4/10 shy of the victory?
Yeah, the beginning of the race, we were really trying to just sit back there and ride. I was really not wanting to pass Breyer there, but when I did, I was just kind of hoping Vicente would pass me, and then I realized we were going to run out of fuel, so I was like, oh shoot, this is going to mix things up. I had no idea that people could actually make it to the end. I wish I had thought about that. I just wasn't paying attention on the strategy, so that would be my bad. But definitely mixed things up there. I was trapped a lap down up until, no joke, the final lap before the yellow came out. I cleared the guy going into turn 3 for the lucky dog position, and that was the difference in my race. I would have been, stuck in the back more than likely. So very fortunate to have that shape out my way. But after that, we decided to take tires instead of, going to the end, which looking back might not have been the move. But I really can't complain about second. I don't feel like I had the pace to catch Cody. He was hauling the mail. It's the first time I've actually raced with him, and he was hauling. So, but definitely happy with second. I missed everything there at the end, and just right place at the right time for sure.
Absolutely. And as well, how does it feel overall to be essentially the driver who finishes in first for the grouping for the Richmond Raceway Esports drivers? Yes, I know there was a lot of bad luck for some of your fellow competitors on that side of the garage, but how does it feel overall to be able to have the strong run here at Richmond, your home track, and your development team's home track?
Yeah, definitely to have 2 really strong runs in a row, coming here in the Pro Series and then back again for this event. Basically was a pro race. I mean, everybody in here was either pro or a huge name in short track racing, so that's really cool. But there was some bad luck. There was some off strategy. Jimmy really got us on the 30 lap fresher tires, and I knew there was nothing I could do at that point. I actually bet on him to win the race at that point, but it didn't work out for him, and we just slipped by there at the end. Definitely happy to come home second. I was happy with 5th, definitely really happy with 4th, and got much more than that, so definitely totally cool with that. Happy to take home $300.
Yes, indeed. Now, where do you go from here? Of course, the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series coming up. Where do things lie for you on the racing side of things, virtual and real world now?
We're gonna have to wait and see how everything shapes out. We had, some plans for the Coke Series that I don't think are gonna work out. I don't know the full dynamics of it. We're just gonna have to see where everything, shakes out for what team I'll end up on. I have an idea, but honestly, nothing's guaranteed. Hopefully, we'll continue to have Smithfield as a sponsor, and hopefully, we can do some real life racing this year and some bigger stuff, not just legend cars. But it's all going to come down to sponsorships and budget, and we just have to wait and see if we get those opportunities.
I'll be swinging it this way then. Similar question what Cody Kelly had, where he plans potentially to use the winnings on tires. What do you plan to go for the winnings for? Do you plan on using for the real world car or for something else?
Well, I can tell you, $300 ain't going to cover much for where we're trying to go. But right now I'm saving my money and seeing what we can do later down the road. I ain't got nothing to spend it on, so we might as well save it up. Maybe pay for college one day. we got halfway through, and then I'm like, well, I don't want to go into crippling debt, so we're gonna see how everything plays out. Been working all year. I could probably go back to school now and finish up. So just keep chipping away at it. These races are good for that. So.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you'd like to say that I didn't ask about, or anyone you want to thank for your run?
Yeah, I got to thank Smithfield, 101 CBD, Sim Seats, Strickland Hardy, Lennox, Bradley Mechanical, all the guys at Elliott Sadler Esports. Shout out to Ashton on the box tonight. Big thank you to him. That was cool having him up there. And also shout out to Richmond Raceway for all their support.
Congratulations on the second place.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It remains P2, Jacob.
So just want to make a note to something when we discuss the unofficial results. So Race Control has assessed an end of the longest line penalty and moved Ryan Matthews to the tail of the lead lap. So that will elevate the driver that we're about to get a Blue-Emu instant reaction from to the final step of the podium. Marcus Fruchtenich standing by with Sean Butler.
Marcus, you're bringing home P3 tonight after that incident that happened directly in front of you on the last restart there. So bit of a wild race for you. Came started in this thing 24th, ended in P3. So go ahead and walk us through your race, and how'd you get to the end and finish P3 in this one?
To be honest, it was rough. I mean, I got in that early incident on lap 4 or whatever it was when Jimmy got put in the fence. But I just bide my time, got my damage fixed, tried to play the fuel strategy a little bit. I realized that we probably didn't have enough fuel to make it to the end. So I topped it off right on that first yellow and played that strategy, but then it was just game on. I just had no straightaway speed. It really killed me, that little bit of damage I got in the beginning, but I just tried to avoid the wrecks and get my way through and try to be there at the end, get what I could.
Absolutely. And I was about to mention your car kind of looks like the typical result of an action-packed race on Saturday night, but did a good job of keeping that thing straight. And I'm watching the replay now, and that final replay, you saw Ryan Matthews just kind of turn Matt Busa there, and I noticed something as we'll look on our onboard camera here. You lifted early going into the corner. Were you anticipating something happening there that could maybe help you get through that calamity there?
Honestly, I know how Richmond plays out. People try to block the bottom. It's been seen many times, no matter what race I run here. But I just figured if something's going to happen, it's definitely going to happen now. So we were all running the apron there. I figured if I had a chance, I had to make sure I wasn't going to get into it. So be back a little bit and get through it and be there, try to be there at the end and get back whoever I could.
Absolutely. You did a great job keeping that thing straight too. I was watching the onboard of you, and you were sawing that wheel all the apron off the corner, but you got it done. And we've been asking everybody we've been getting a word with after the race, $150 to you for finishing third. Any plans for that $150 for you?
Honestly, I don't know. I'll probably buy something nice for myself, maybe. I don't know. I got a big bill I got to pay for my truck, so maybe I'll just put it towards that. But I don't know. I'm just happy I was able to do this race. I got informed by my buddy yesterday. Last minute, I was like one of the last signups, and just to qualify in, race against these guys who I did, and make it to the show and finish P3. I'm pretty ecstatic.
Absolutely, man. You beat some of the best on the service. Congratulations on your race tonight. Before we let you go, anyone you want to thank, give a shout out to before we let you go here?
Just RB Designs, Ryan Blanchard for the paint scheme, and I always got to give a shout out to my our radio guy up here in the Northeast, Sean Waddell. Anybody up here, never ever needs anything done with their racing stuff, he's the guy to see.
Well, congratulations, Marcus. Excellent run tonight, finishing P3. And Jacob, we'll send it back to you.
I'll toss it right over to Justin Prince. We're going to continue with our Blue-Emu instant reactions, and now get a chance to catch up with tonight's fourth place finisher. Justin, you're standing by with Blake Neer.
Yes, indeed. And the Canadian came back from getting spun around just a few cautions prior to the checker flag, Blake. What happened for you to go from essentially the very back of the field after being spun around about 20 laps ago to a top 5?
I mean, yeah, I think we got pretty lucky there with that yellow right before the last one there. I got some spots back after I got sent around, but I mean, we made it work.
How difficult was this race tonight, especially with the talent level?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think I was running like 30th, like the whole race. I got damage on that first wreck there on lap 4 or whatever, so we're just riding around, and then got trapped a lap down after lap 100 and really nowhere to be seen until the last 20 laps.
Was going to ask as well, heard a couple drivers mention damage. How tricky is it when you get damage like this for super late models, especially at Richmond compared to some of the other tracks?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the bigger tracks that damage affects these more often. So, I mean, it hurts you a little bit.
Yes, indeed. Now, overall, though, strong finish, P4 on the pylon. What do you plan to use your winnings for? For you, it's $100.
I'm probably gonna have a nice dinner tonight, so that's about it.
Very simple. Sounds like. Anyone you want to thank for tonight's top 5?
Just Legacy Esports and T Weaver Paving. And you guys for broadcasting and putting the show on.
Congratulations on the run, Blake.
Thanks, guys.
Lake Near, a very simple man, off to celebrate and have a good dinner.
Final Blue-Emu instant reaction of our post-race show here on Windshield Deep goes to one of the drivers we talked to before the race. And I said that if we were talking to Ray Alfalla afterwards, that meant it was a pretty good day. P5 in your major event super late model debut there, Ray. Solid day's work, and boy, at times looked like maybe this car had pace to run up with the leaders.
Yeah, not bad at all for the VRS car. We were lacking a little bit of pace early, but then I had good old veterans Brian Blackford and John Prather in the booth, and we worked up some pretty good strategy there in the middle of the race, and we ended up towards the front, and then at the end, once I knew I was on the outside on those late restarts, it always just becomes kind of like a mess at the end. And if you're on the high side entering turn 1, we had somebody behind the car next to me make it 3 wide, and I almost cleared the car on the bottom, but we got hit and we went to the back. But then, all sorts of carnage happened, and we got back into the top 5, so not bad.
How crazy was this race, really all the way through, from the craziness of the strategy during the first half, the pit stops before that comp yellow, and then, everybody that we thought were going to be contenders having to kind of race their way back from many of you guys being a lap down at one point.
Yeah, I mean, we knew there was a halfway yellow, a lap 100, but we most of the people could not make it to 100 on fuel, so that really added a wrench to everybody's strategies, because it takes so long to add fuel. So it's a matter of, how long do you want to spend on pit road under green and things like that. So we ended up only losing 1 lap,
The final restart.
I don't know. I mean, he just came across the he went from my left screen to the right screen pretty quickly. So yeah, that was I kind of saw it happening though, and you figure somebody's gonna get punted at the end of the race. So that wasn't too big of a surprise.
I gotta ask too, because I hear kind of the chuckle in your voice. Excitement. Are you looking forward to getting this thing back going in February for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and getting another run at a 5th championship potentially going?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the off season right now. It's I'm not really in any hurry to get started. I mean, I take full advantage of the off season and just kind of relax, because once the season gets going, it's 8 or 9 month hustle. So. Right now, I'm pretty good, just chilling.
Before we let you go, Ray, sponsors, shout-outs, thank yous, anything to anything or anybody that you want to pay a nod to for a top 5 finish here?
Yeah, well, I gotta give a shout-out to the VRS wheel. Helped me make a good save there in turn 1, and yeah, thanks to Landon and Windshield Deep and Blue-Emu for putting this event together, and you guys for broadcasting it. I think I love racing these races. Everybody just shows up, and there's heats and then prize money and all that. So it's a lot of fun, and I look forward to the next one.
Appreciate you coming in and being a part of it, Ray. 5th place finish, and I imagine a few heads turned for the guys who run the short tracks regularly here on this service. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you around.
Ray Alfalla, top 5 finish as we move from the driver they call 4-time to the proprietor of Windshield Deep here, as Landon Huffman now jumps on to kind of help us wrap this party up. I know you weren't a part of this one on the racetrack, Landon, but certainly helping behind the scenes, and we thought the Thanksgiving Classic was good, but this was, I'll say easily, one of the best short track races on this service I've ever seen.
No, I think all in all, this turned out outstanding from a race standpoint, all the way through the broadcast. We didn't have any hiccups, through the prelims, and overall, the race as a whole went really, really smooth. I mean, I think this is definitely a step forward from the Thanksgiving Classic, and hopefully we can continue to build off this. I know the strategy made it fun, and all in all, I just think it was a really, really good show.
I do want to take a moment just to make sure we have some clarity for those watching at home. Originally, Ryan Matthews did cross the line third, but I know this was one thing. We've seen it in the replay a couple of times that you guys were very clear on this in all the build up to this race, that you didn't want to see anybody, heavy contact or running anybody over on these final couple of restarts just to gain money, and that was where the penalty came in there.
Yeah, we take pride in our on-track product at Windshield Deep, and I feel like that's one thing that's lacking on the iRacing service when it comes to these big money events, and that's, organization when it comes to the on-track competition. It seems like people drive over their heads more times than not, and, we're just very, very adamant about keeping it clean on the racetrack and making sure the best racing product is given to the people watching and also, for the drivers that are competing. And we make it very clear, like you said, at the start of every event and every server, that if you, make contact or run over someone for a spot that would potentially gain yourself money or move you forward in the field, then it is subject to penalty. And, that's what we felt the case was with the 51. Not saying it was intentional or anything like that. Things happen on the racetrack, but unfortunately we were put in that situation where he did make contact with Matt Busa, which caused Busa to spin, which allowed the 51 to advance position. So we relegated him to the last car on the lead lap.
Looking now into the future, obviously after two of these, I think we can say that this has really turned into a pretty good success for you guys. Are there ideas for what's next in this special event series, or you guys gonna sit down and try to see what you can come up with for a third one?
Oh, we're just getting started. I mean, like I said, we are continuing to make each one bigger and better. Obviously, we upped our prize pool by over $1,000 for this one, or just about $1,000, maybe a little bit more actually, when you count in all the awards. So the plan is to continue to up the prize, and we kept the same entry fee for this one, and I plan on doing that in the future. We have some plans for 2021 to make this deal more mainstream and make it as large as possible. And the more drivers we can get involved, the bigger we can make it for everyone. But we couldn't do it without all of our wonderful partners here at Windshield Deep. Blue-Emu stepped up and became the title sponsor for the short track shootout. They were phenomenal, super easy to work with, very great. To see a brand of that stature be involved in sim racing. So shout out to Blue-Emu. Sim Seats as well. They've been a longtime partner of myself in both my sim racing career and my actual driving career in real life. And those guys are outstanding to work with. They have grade A cockpits. I have a sim seat that I race on every single day. Very thankful for Zach and everybody at Sim Seats. Also just going to run through a list of our sponsors here. Dave's Truck Parts, Fairway Motors, McCallum Setup Shop, Simbox provided a 14 button box that we're going to give away to one lucky driver that entered in this event. Everyone that actually entered in the event, not the feature drivers only, it's every driver that entered in this event will have an opportunity to be entered in that drawing for that button box. Also, Derek Peoples Motorsports, Trigger Small Engine Company for sponsoring our pole award. Hammer Down Motorsports for a lap award, along with Max Cookson and Michael Gonzalez, and then Speed Nut Apparel for our onboard camera, and also One Wraps, which is my buddy Dylan, who is in this Windshield Deep thing right alongside me. I got to thank him for the Blue-Emu, the nice Blue-Emu car. You've seen Blake ran. Obviously, I didn't get to race it, but Blake got to wheel the Blue-Emu 66. So shout out to him, and then also thank you to my race control. We had a few hiccups the first week, growing pains, or the first race. This week, or this go around, I feel like it went really, really well. We had no issues, and I was very happy with all of the calls we made, and also the broadcast crew. You guys do a phenomenal job. I don't have to thank you guys. You know how I feel about it. You guys kill it week in and week out, and that's why you're the best in the game when it comes to this stuff.
We appreciate the kind words, Landon, and thank you for having us be a part of it. Definitely a success here for the Blue-Emu Short Track Shootout presented by SimSeats, and we'll wrap this one up and do it again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Also, thank you to everybody that tuned in and watched. We hit record numbers for this race. As far as Windshield Deep goes, we had over 200 on Twitch. I think we got close to 240 at one point. Over 100 on Facebook. Blue-Emu was streaming it on their Facebook, had over 100. So, but the numbers are growing, and I'm just confident in what we can grow this thing, moving forward.
You're right. That's Landon Huffman, the proprietor of Windshield Deep, as we get ready to wrap up the Blue-Emu short track shootout and bring you back in the broadcast booth here with us and close it out here. Jacob Seelman, Justin Prince, Sean Butler, one more time. And JP, I'll start with you. We wondered, and I know this is your first one with us, but we wondered if this was going to top the Thanksgiving Classic from back in November. I think by the end of this one, we can say unequivocally the answer to that question was yes. This race had everything I think we could have asked for.
Absolutely had everything from strategy to bold moves to crazy incidents to a great finish overall. I think this is what absolutely top and then some what we've seen before in one of the biggest races of all of 2020, if I dare say, in all of iRacing. And again, all the respect for the race winner and Cody Kelly. He dominated tonight overall. When you look at things, 102 plus laps led tonight in this race. He was a man on a mission and looked for redemption, as you talked about, Jacob. He definitely redeemed himself and then some tonight with this victory.
That he did. Sean Butler, that was kind of what I was going to mention to you, but really there were a couple of feel-good stories in that top five here when you look at Garrett Maines coming away with a runner-up finish, Fruchtenich on the podium. I mean, there were a lot of guys who I felt like really showed themselves very, very well. I avoided some carnage, yes, but we're strong all night long.
Absolutely. And like we were talking about the whole weekend, really, is the competition level in this race has been some of the best we've ever seen. And it shows. I mean, anybody can finish anywhere in these races. And these guys had to battle through some attrition in this race, like Marcus, of course, as you mentioned, but they were able to get some very good payouts tonight and get through all the carnage. But I just can't. I'm just so happy for Cody Kelly. I mean, those of you guys who watch the Windshield Deep Racing League know he's had some bad luck in the past, fell just short of the championship this year, but to see him come away with the victory in this race is just so cool to see. And so big congratulations to him and really everybody that participated in this race for putting on one heck of a show.
Very deserving winner in Cody Kelly. Gets his redemption story and walks away from the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats with $1,000 and 4 tickets to the Spring NASCAR Cup Series race at Martinsville Speedway, courtesy of Blue-Emu, our title partner. And that is pretty well going to wrap it up here on Windshield Deep for the running of the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats at the virtual Richmond Raceway. So right now for Landon Huffman, Dylan Wilson, and all the folks at Windshield Deep, for Ryan Bauer down in the production trailer, and for my broadcast partners, Justin Prince and Sean Butler, my name is Jacob Seelman, congratulating Cody Kelly on his win in the Blue-Emu short track shootout presented by SimSeats at Richmond. We'll see you when we see you folks next time on the iRacing platform. Till we meet again.